still have what 400. Yeah.
2 million. You got something?
That is, yeah. I think I'd be able to retire. You get more health insurance.
Well, any chance you'll live forever, then you
Yeah, I
get
think-
1.2 million.
25-year pay plan.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a smart move. You were 20.
You're
25 years old. Yeah.
Your kid.
Can you do that? You think so? Oh, is that what it is?
Cryogenic already, so I wouldn't know you need yourself.
You're all
See those cryogenic? You get to be about 80 years old, you can freeze you. No, they're early.
Yeah.
Okay, call the meeting back to order. We'll reconvene. 5 under 1 PM, police, crime prevention and K9. Welcome, Mike.
Hello.
The
Nice to
police
see
revenue starts on tab 1, page 6.
That's the crime prevention fund. It's used, go ahead, no.
It's not, it's the police revenue.
Oh, police revenue, I didn't see that. I don't have the book because they way falls.
Okay, let's start from the crime prevention. Crime prevention is tab 2.
Up to. Up to. Here we go.
That's the 1,600.
Yep.
It's basically used for a shop with cop every year. So that's it. It just has to stay the same.
Well, actually, I changed it.
You go ahead and change it.
When was going through what came out of this account, because I wasn't aware, I went back years and saw, okay, this is shop with a cop. So donations, why it's only showing smaller numbers there, the 327.21, is because expenses are also coming out of that one in the past. So the expenses would come out of the donations contributions. But the donations that came in were roughly $4,000. And then so the expenses on the next page that are coming out were also roughly $4,000. So this fund can supply itself. It's a separate fund. I don't think it needs to have that 1,600 property taxes going in there. If it needs it, then obviously that they can go in there, but otherwise I think it can support itself.
We don't generally spend more than the donations
Right.
from the citizens on shop with cop.
When you look at the history, it's kind of hard to see that because expenses were coming out of that revenue account, which is fine. But then it makes it a little harder to track it. Moving forward, we'll just put the donations in there and the expenses will come out of the operational supplies there, which are the shops at the top. that we get the donations.
Any questions on that?
No.
Mike, what's your next page?
I don't know, I moved it around so I can see
Do
better.
we want to do the dog or
Do the dog one, the animal control.
Oh, the animal control? That's in the general fund. So I meant the canine.
Oh, the canine one?
The canine fund is under tab 8.
There, I got it.
What?
Tab 8.
Page 1.
So you can see last year we put $5,000 into that. It was brand new. We didn't really know what the expenses were gonna be or what the donations coming in would be. This year I budgeted no property taxes. I think this will also be self-funded on donations. And why this is in its own fund is because when it's funded by donations, we can't ever take that money away. It stays in the fund balance and is used for the dog, only the dog. So that also has no impact on the levy this year.
So I have one question about that. Okay, so we're not budgeting nothing for 2023.
Mhm.
2022, there was a $5,000 budget. Does Mike have the necessary funds in that account right now to cover any expenses that are gonna occur with that, with the game?
We have $34,640 in there.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah, so
okay,
there's-
that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Awesome, so it's sitting healthy,
Changes daily.
it's sitting healthy, but it's sitting, yeah,
Sitting pretty.
okay, good, that's awesome. How much is a K9? Like if you, when you bought the dog,
15,000
15 grand. So there's actually enough in there if something tragically would happen.
to support another dog.
Awesome, awesome.
That's big expense.
Vehicle was the biggest expense.
Oh, the vehicle?
We
Oh, because you had to equip it.
Yeah, equipped with vehicle. Because the K9 unit has to be a dedicated K9 unit.
Gotcha, through a separate vehicle. and
Yes.
whatnot. Sure, makes sense. So definitely a positive, so.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's good to know that there's enough in there to fund another one.
Okay, then we can go to the police department, which is under tab 1 in the general fund. And the revenues are on page 6. That's,
What's on the top page?
so that'll be the police department rewards, law and ordinance violations, parking violations.
Okay, got it. I don't see much changing. I mean, when you're talking about the law and ordinance violations, that has a lot to do with how many traffic stops are made in a night. You know, that's where the revenue is generated. The parking violations, that's where the revenue is generated. It's hard to say, it's hard to lay down exactly how much money we're gonna generate from that because it's so, depends on how many stops we have, how many, we need. We
Well,
can't,
people behave.
who behaving, who isn't behaving, exactly right.
Yeah, so we're keeping those pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But enforcement fees, you can see went down a little bit to just more accurately affect the trend. Expenses. We're gonna jump to page 31. We'll do the same tab.
What is the health insurance?
The health insurance is gonna be $56,273.
56 what?
56,273. I mean, you can just see those salary numbers there, they're broken out on that spreadsheet that I gave you. For all of the departments, there was something budgeted for longevity. All that amount comes out of the wage, the full-time salaries account, so I just put those numbers in there where they belong. That's why that's 0.
Mike, why are you budgeting, 5,000 more for overtime?
Because on the other years, he was sitting right around $18,000 in the previous years, if you look back.
Oh, actual?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree.
And this is a hard one, because I was down a man 10 months of this year.
I was gonna say, is that why the other overtime is up to 31?
I don't think we're gonna hit that 31 that's projected. I don't think we're gonna hit that.
Yeah, don't look at different numbers.
Oh, okay, oh, I think very cool, so.
It's hard not to when they're right there.
Scared in the face.
I mean, I had it at 18 a couple of years ago. Barring nobody getting sick or quitting or hurt or whatever, that 13's pretty accurate, but you just can't predict that.
Yeah.
You know, it puts me over every time and it looks bad. But if you look at 21 and 22, that 18,000, you know, that 21, that 18,000 is pretty close to what it should be.
The overtime, that's when your outputs have to go to the court, right?
Or somebody's, I mean, we try to fill out vacations, but vacation, sick days, comp days,
I remember you saying something about one last time, something about they get paid
Court.
when they have to
Go
go
to
to.
court, yeah.
yeah, they have vacation.
Whether they're 10 minutes or 2 hours, you said.
And if you're going to have a department that works hard, you're gonna have a lot of court time.
Well, that brings the revenues up for the other part,
Yeah,
maybe, so
it sure does.
the 82,000, so.
Like, what is your contractual services? What does that encompass?
All the fees we pay to the state, we have to pay fees to the county, we have to pay fees to run our computers, run the 28s and 27s, printing, paying for the copy machines. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, mostly it's like there's a Lexipol is 6,500, our policies and procedures manual. The county is like a $6,000 bill for all the work they do for us on Stillman. So right in the beginning of the year, it gets eaten up pretty quick.
Okay.
Everything else, every other line item I had, I kept it the same, except for the overtime
And the gas, which,
and the gas.
The property and liability insurance, I know it's every building's high and stuff, but I mean, is that like for this property and liability insurance, is that like on your vehicles and everything?
yeah,
You have the K-9 and I'm assuming everything
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything that,
pertains to.
your, how many full-time officers there are, the dog, the cars, the building, I mean, workman's comp is under there too, there's.
Well, that's underneath this property and liability.
Like, how much insurance do you carry on that K-9 dog?
it has its own separate policy, I think enough to replace the dog. Because we have bought its own health insurance too, so,
Really?
yeah.
Then if you go to the next page, that's the police clerical, that's Karina, their part-time administrative salary and benefits, page 33. No, we're not.
What do you look at?
Well, I was thinking it was 20.
And does she have, I don't know this, does she have a set number of hours she works or kind of can fluctuate, is that correct?
Yeah, she has a total of 40 in 2 weeks.
Part-time, she gets retirement fund?
There's a certain amount of hours you have to work to be able to elect to take that retirement, and then once you're in it, we can't kick you out of it. So even if they were full-time, they go down to part-time because she was on the county's WRS, government insurance.
She said that.
Yeah, so then when she comes down to ours,
We
because
have
she
to
is
offer
going
it.
to part-time, we have to keep her on it. It's just,
That's just a
government
state, that's a
work.
state, I'm assuming that's a state statute.
Yep, yep, so we have to keep paying that.
That was brought up at earlier in the meeting. I believe you said that, Brittany, about that.
Yeah, I don't remember what we were talking
Yeah, so,
Yeah. And then the next page 34 is just, we pay the Humane Society a quarterly charge for stray animals, animal housing for the strays. I did reach out to the Humane Society because when I was looking at this, I'm like, do we need, that should be 3,000. I don't know if it's 0 on your page or
yeah,
3,000.
zero.
It should be 3,000. I put it to 0 because we haven't made any payments since 2021. I think maybe they just have someone new doing their billing that didn't know to bill it out. So I did contact them to see, are we still paying this? Are we not? So until they tell us no, it's gonna stay 3,000, otherwise we'll put it down to 0, but. The next page is the crossing guards. I thought we were a little high in 2022. I did some estimates over, I think it was a 5 or 6 year period on what their average hours were. They get a 2% increase on their salary, so or on their per hour wage, which was $12.22 in 2022. In 2023, it'll go up to $12.46. Their average hours they work each school year is 1,350. That gives you the total of 16,827.
How many do we have?
4. 3 full-time and 1 fill-in.
It works 1,300 hours.
That was the average hours, yeah.
Full-time job would be
That's
2
just
hours.
crossing guard stuff.
Yeah, you can't, physically can't put that many hours in. You wouldn't have any during the summer. If you work 40 hours a week. 2080. Yeah, and they're working 1,300.
Well, there's 180 days in the school year, right? How many days are in the school year?
If you're only working an hour before and an hour after?
I don't know how that, maybe they get paid for 2 and 2, I don't know, how does it work? I have no idea.
Is it $1,300?
thought it was-
All of them combined.
Oh, that's probably all.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be, that's,
Sorry,
Oh,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Mike, does the school
360
kick in for crossing guards?
They do not.
They don't.
Strictly a city thing, not even county or nobody else, it's strictly city?
Yep.
So what happens if the city says we don't want to pay for it? The school's gonna get mad?
I would think the school get mad. I think the city holds some liability to keep the kids safe.
I know, I did meet with, the school last year when we were talking about the student resource officer, and one of, don't remember who it was, but a woman did mention to me that there would possibly be grants that the state is offering for crossing guards. So I had her send the information over to me, and I'm looking into if we can possibly get some of that money. But I don't know anymore. on that.
Well, I know a lot of districts are having some issues with getting crossing guards.
Yeah, we're actually kind of on the lucky.
Yeah. Why you,
There's one family.
yeah, basically, yeah.
We had that budget meeting,
Gotta
and he said that
Oh, I don't think we could get rid of them.
COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
Money they
I would like to
spent.
see the school kick in.
You get any of that?
COVID-19,
Yeah, it's,
the COVID money is the ARPA money that we got, and we did get 400, I think 463,000. Half of that was used on 2021 expenses to lower our deficit. And the other half, we still have, we just approved Josh paying 15,000, 14,000 some out of it. So we do have that remainder that we can spend. Yeah,
Half.
231.
they said it was 150,000.
Yes, we should have like 216,000.
Yeah, 2.
And I believe that's all the police in the general fund. If you go back to tab 10, that's the capital expenditures. The police department is asking, oh, you have to add this in. I missed it. Last night when I was checking over the budget, I realized I missed Mike's request for
What page are you on?
tab 10, page 5. Page 4. Oh, there it is. So their police administration capital account should be 41,500 for police car.
New squad car.
Police car.
Police administration, what now?
Yep, 41,500
Instead of 40,
instead of 0.
41,000.
Instead of zero. You do what, 40, what again?
41,500.
Oh, capital equipment? Well, that's better.
Yep, in capital equipment, police administration is on
Police
it.
administration. It says 40,000.
That is fire capital equipment.
You want to vote?
The 40,000 is fire. One above it.
Is there any value, you just,
Well, that's that 2007 Tahoe that I've been riding.
you can trade that in, or is there any value, trade-in value?
The value, problem I'm having with it right now is there's some floorboard rusting out on the driver's side. It's getting to there's value to the car, don't get me wrong. The value is not in an emergency response vehicle anymore. We usually traded it in or sold it. But my first thing would be, is there anybody in the department in the city that needs a vehicle? Because seriously, you're gonna get, what I think you're gonna get for that Tahoe and the conditions it's in, is it more usable to give it to another city department? Yeah, because I don't know if a 2007 Tahoe with floorboard rusting out is worth that much on the market. But it's probably worth quite a bit to a different department here that they don't have to buy a car.
Well, stuff, or like they've done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it, but to be quite honest, if that car, if the state patrol came in and assessed that car, they would pull it off the road.
And that 41,000 is represented in this sheet. So this capital, tax levy CIP 402, that's the capital accounts, that 217,102. That 41,000 is included in that amount. This is updated, your budget sheet. So.
Talked to Ford and I talked to Dodge. Ford is no longer bidding up any Explorers for 2023. They're done. Durango, you still can. Ford is going up 15% and the car is going to be, that car price is with getting it changed over and getting new lights put on it and everything. The new Ford in 2024 is going to be about $40,000 itself because of a 15% increase. If we can get on this and order a Dodge, you're still in the 2023. That's the only one you can still bid out of 2023. Ford's done.
You can't find out, because them gotta be specially made, correct?
Correct.
And there's not on no lots nowhere. New one,
No. Nope.
hard to find it.
For whatever reason, you only have 2 manufacturers for the whole nation.
That's it?
That's it.
Chevy don't make?
They make a Tahoe, but we don't want to afford a Tahoe.
Yeah.
They're about 48 grand right up there.
And that's all of the police accounts.
Have any additional questions from Mike? Jeannie?
Oh, no, I'm more for Brittany. What was the health insurance?
For the police, 56,273.
See that, 56,273.
Yep, so the total police expenses is 1,024,777.
Mike, who's in charge of the shop for the cop this year? Oh,
The coolest.
make sure we get her a check.
You want her to write your letter?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get, right, is there an address out there? or-
605 Wedgewood. She could get that out, we got a meeting next Monday, so she can get it out by then, we'll make a copy.
Yep, sure.
Get a check to her.
All right, sounds good.
What does it all entail, shop with
Well, since Shopko left, it's kind of been a
Yeah, a little tougher.
little tougher, because we used to take the kids right to Shopko and shop with them. But now we go to Walmart, Marinette, and we get the list from the parents and the families, and the police go up there and do the shopping. Bring it home, and then on a Sunday, we bring the kids in to help wrap it, then we take it to their homes. I really don't wanna bus 7 kids to Walmart.
Tractor Supply doesn't meet
No,
Yeah, some.
they have somebody.
Yeah, not much.
Oh, nuts and bolts.
Your dad needs a presser.
It's too bad, I miss Shopko.
Yeah, it is. That was a big major loss, but Tractor Supply is kind of.
Anybody more questions for Mike?
I got nothing.
Okay.
Give it Josh this way.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, we'll see you guys, thanks.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, before.
Remainder of general fund, technology, tourism, emergency government,
Yeah,
and others.
I thought that was at the end, but yeah, we can do that. Okay,
That is nothing anymore.
what?
That doesn't have any money in it.
Technology? That's what we pay for all our computers, spamware, all the software that we have, that goes out of there. Okay. I guess we'll start right under tab 1, page 1. This is all like the general clerk revenue. The mobile home fees, $8,000, staying the same. Taxes from the municipal utilities, that comes from the Oconee Utility Treatment Plant, they pay us that, that's staying the same. The pilot as payments that come from like Copper Cove and Ocato, instead of them paying their taxes, like Ocato is tax exempt, they pay us money based on a contract that was written up. So that's that money
How
there.
come we don't get any more? You get any taxes from the manor?
That's Ocato is the manor.
Oh,
Where is that?
Taxes from other tax exempt.
Oh, okay.
Portland.
Oh, they actually pay something?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
they did when I was
Really?
at Warden.
Yeah.
Somebody told me when all the townhouses are building up behind there, the new place
Mhm.
at the manor.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that somebody bought that place. And I thought, Jesus, somebody bought that.
Under
They're
new
getting
management.
It
taxes.
is under new management.
Under the manor.
Oh, it is, but it's still owned by the feds, federal government?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Because someone tried to tell me the other day that somebody privately owns that. I go, if that was the case, we'd be getting like major taxes.
So, what else do we do? Is it this 20,000? Well,
I have to look at the contract with them. I assume it will, but I'll have to look a little closer at that. So the state personal property aid and the shared revenues, that's the money we get from the state. The shared revenue 1,838,950. Went up quite a bit this year, I mean, quite a bit, but that's the majority of the money that we get from the state that we,
Proposed tax income. Proposing a tax increase of 19%, 19.33%.
that's where we're at right now, I guess.
Wow.
Just a reminder, we're still $82,864 over what we can charge. So that number needs to come down at least 8,000. All the other ones are staying pretty much the same. Grants, there is 2,700 in there. The League of Municipalities gives us a $1,500 safety grant that any department can use for safety equipment. They're pretty broad on what you can spend it on. And then there's an election sub-grant where they pretty much, you know, they reimburse some of your technology spamware kind of costs, $1,200. So that's where the 7 is coming in. The rest are staying the same there. Bicycle licenses was at 20. I don't think we've ever collected a bicycle license. I put it at 0. Next page, everything's pretty much staying the same. Some I adjusted a little bit more closer to what we're actually taking in.
I have a question. The cable franchise fee, what is, they pay us to have cable on their tower? Or what's the deal with that? 39,000.
Yeah.
What's that?
Spectrum pays us a fee.
I know.
For use stuff.
Okay.
TV and Dish do not. They're, whereas
Spectrum uses telephone poles and whatnot, so they actually pay us that. I had that question.
you get a bill from Spectrum, there's a fee on there.
Oh, is there?
What do you mean? I got. Oh, I got.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Clerk fees are, we charge I know most of that is when if people make copies or I'm trying to think of what else. If we make copies for people or open records requests, if we charge them for those pages we print, it goes under there. Let me think what else goes under there. That one piece. Interest on investments is the interest on the bank accounts. It's the interest we get from the banks. Which obviously fluctuates, you don't really.
So the commission of the aging, they pay us a rent of $8,400 a year.
$708 a month, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're actually through the county. They just rent.
Yep. Okay.
And then if we go, that's all the revenues. So if we go to the expenses, sure.
There's insurance.
That's the amount that Macomb or League of Municipalities pays us at the end of the year. I think it's I don't know how they calculate it, but they pay us that money at the end of the year. Mm-hmm.
Listed under insurance
Yeah, we can look into that. Okay, so expenses, we'll start on page 10. Page 12. Page 12. This is the council and mayor salaries that come out of here. Training and conferences, 500, telephone, 100, it was budgeted at 600. This year, it's only because of how Insight is set up. It's $8.33 a month. We lowered that down to 100. And the rest we kept relatively the same. The other account, they kind of had, I guess, talking with Lloyd as like, kind of like whatever the mayor wanted to spend. He got $500 to spend it however you want. It's hardly ever seen any action. So I lowered it to 100.
That's in the other?
Yeah, on the council and mayor, other. The next page is our city attorney contractual services. That increases 2% with the employee wages. That's where that increase is coming from. Page 13.
35.
Page 14 is the clerk salary, so all of us girls up at the front. Some of our wages get prorated out to the different departments. You can see that on this wage sheet if you're interested in those numbers. The health insurance, it says 10,973. That number is going to 8,944. Training and conferences, I bumped that up. I bumped that up a little bit, only because we have so many new girls, and I want to be able to, if there's something that comes up that can help them, I want to be able to send them there. Same with the dues and memberships. I bumped that out quite a bit. All of us up front in the past have been notaries. I'm the only one right now with Julie leaving, so I want to get those girls to be notaries. And then it's like our chamber, $100 for our chamber fees, League of Municipality fees, and then Wisconsin Cities Municipal Association, the different fees we pay for that. Dues and
Dues and
memberships.
memberships.
Page 16 is what we budget for elections. There's potentially 2 elections in 2023, so those numbers are going down about half. In 2022, we had 4 elections, so that cuts that down a little bit.
Health insurance change in that too, then.
Nope, that will stay the same because that, I don't know what that health insurance is coming out. I mean, what employee, it's kind of a rigmarole to find out.
Well, because you have some of your employees down there that are working in the office work down there.
I don't think any of our salary goes towards that though.
Okay.
But it must, because there's health insurance and retirement there, so. Page 16,
Page 16.
this whole page is elections.
So for 2 elections,
Mhm.
budgeting $10,000.
Sure. Contractual services is, this year it came out of operational supplies, but it needs to be a journal entry done to put it in contractual services. That's the county printing our ballots. That charge comes up there. So I did see when I was doing this budget that it did go into operational supplies this year, but I'll do a journal entry to fix that. Next page, page 17 is the technology. So those contractual services, I'm asking the same as last year. Camera Corner is about $42,000 a year. The county is doing its own IT that they'll contract out to the municipalities in O'Connell County. That's not in full effect yet, so I don't know what that time frame is looking like, if we have to stay with Camera Corner next year or if we get to go to the county, which will save us a lot of money. When I know more information on that, I'll let you guys know. So that's Camera Corner, Workforce, the software we use for all of our programming, $5,500. GCS, which is our tax collection program, that's $700 a year. our printer, copy printer, contractual fees, our website, 4,200. And our copier lease, lease payment, 3,000. So that's that total there.
So your feeling is if we would, connect with the county, our IT work?
Yeah, in the middle of this year, they sent out, is anyone interested in this? If they are, we'll put this program together. And it seems like they have enough interest where they can go ahead with it. They don't know yet, because obviously the councils have to make that decision. So they don't have enough information to offer us on it yet. Hopefully we can get that information before we have to sign our next camera corner contract. But
So we basically want to get first.
I already told her, send it over as soon as you get it, because we were interested in saving that money for sure. Not to mention, if we have problems, they're right there.
Right.
So. And they're excited about it. I talked to, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but they sound very excited about it as well.
So this is somebody that works for Eric.
Yeah, at the county. Next page, auditing, accounting and auditing fees. They were significantly higher this year. We kind of looked at maybe right now we're with CLA, which they are kind of expensive. And when I talked to a bunch of other clerks, they kind of had the same thought as they bill you things that maybe you wouldn't think they would bill you for. When we had our insurance rating call or our bonding rating call, I had only been here 2 months. I said, hey, Scott, can you be on the line for this? I wasn't here for any of the figures they're asking about, so I need help answering these questions. He didn't even answer any questions and he billed us after it. So, okay, lesson learned. So it is a little higher this year.
Did you say that was like a couple hundred, 250?
And it was like high 300s.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what are you gonna do? But yeah, 18,750 is like what I asked around thinking if we can get a quote from someone else. Most places that I've heard back from so far can't take on new clients at this time. We might be stuck with CLA, which
We're still.
is fine.
Somebody
I sent out requests for proposals from
I
Urban
thought we did that
Roads.
already, didn't we?
That was for R&R.
Oh, that was for the assessment.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I sent out to Kerber Rose.
That's the one from Sean.
Yeah.
Oh,
Over the rules.
yeah. But I don't have it on me.
That was their recommendation.
Somebody had mentioned that.
That was Jeff Kalani.
Yes, that was, yes.
Jeff.
That was, yeah.
And I did reach out to them, but 3 that I heard back from said they just can't take on new clients right now. They're understaffed. And they can't. So that's that.
You haven't heard back.
I believe I did, and I think they were one, but I can double check that. Next page, page 19, board of review. That's the per diem that we pay for that meeting. Board of review is for the assessments. We pay them $50 per meeting, $50 to do the training. One person is required to take the training for a year. Next page, page 20, the municipal hall expenses. So the contractual services, keeping it the same. That's Crossroads, who come in and clean the building, and Robinson Heating and Cooling, who do the HVAC system.
How much, approximately how much is Crossroads?
Crossroads is $1,472 a month. The rest is utilities. I bumped up a little bit to try to be more accurate with the budgeting. Gas there. I did see a grant recently come through my email for improvements on municipal buildings, public buildings, which hopefully it's a match grant. I don't know what the match is, but our HVAC system needs to be updated badly.
You need a bigger garage door too.
System always needs to be fixed. Jasmine, that's what we have to get fixed. That thing on
Check
here,
on that, I'm not sure. But I think those
it
are
happens.
the two things.
It's annoying.
They just redid that.
It was loud, it was just kicked in.
They do a lot of maintenance. It's
Huh?
a
Big
whole system.
Big
That's
sauce.
what they did?
Also, after the hospital. We gotta keep that upgraded.
Next, page 21, non-departmental insurance. That's just the extra remainder, I guess, city side of the property and liability insurance that gets allocated to each department. That's the remainder of that. Employee retirements. Last year when we cut the pool, we had some extra money that needed a home in the budget because you have to budget a zero budget. That was at 46,000. I thought this was a safe account to stick it in, that no one could touch it, and it would be the cushion for the rest of the budget. I wanted to put something in there for this year in case some of our older employees would retire. We could pull it out of there if we, it depends how we're sitting at the end of the year. If there's extra, I think this is a good place to put it. But right now it's zero.
Did, I'm gonna use the fire department, whatever,
Mhm.
because you're saying. When they do that budget, ain't that retirement, ain't that allocated in the budget every month? I mean, the money set aside every month for these retirements?
No.
So in other words, if Josh was here for 30 years or whatever it is, and he decided we gotta take all that retirement money out of the general fund?
I mean, it comes out of their salaries account
Yeah,
then.
we got, our personal paychecks have our percentage or our portion that comes out of for Wisconsin state retirement and that.
Yeah, but that's different. This is for like what their payout would be. We pay out all
Right,
their
at the end
sick
of the
time,
year.
all their vacation time.
I can't remember Roger Reed and all, he got $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 when he retired. I guess that all comes out of the general fund.
It comes out of their salaries account.
Well, how come not even much of it?
Well, we try to, but sometimes it's hard. I mean, I didn't know that I was gonna lose two girls this year. I mean, you can, sometimes you just don't know. Which, if we know someone's leaving, we'll stick money in there, but
Is that vacation?
that's it, yeah, the vacation time, they
Sick
have those
time and
up,
all
their
that?
sick time, they have those up that we have to pay out.
Let me ask you a question. In industry, I mean, you offer employees vacation for them to go on vacation and regenerate. And it's very common in industry, use it or lose it.
Well, we do that to a point, they can only carry over so many hours, I believe it's 40 hours each year, they can carry over. And then we'll only pay out a maximum amount. I can't think off the top of my head what that number is. I want to say it's pretty low. That's the max we'll pay out otherwise you lose it.
I mean, it shouldn't be a saving account. That's not the intention of vacation.
But if they earn it and then they retire, I mean,
But
that actually would cost the city more money though, because then we're paying their payroll taxes.
Right, yeah.
So otherwise we can just pay out those hours and that's saving the city money.
I guess, but I don't, why that in budget? You can project what I want to be out here when I'm 55, so we've got 10 years ago. Every year that should be
Well, that's what this
budgeted.
account is.
Yeah, but you got what, 46,000 in there?
That's because that was extra money though. Not
That's
because we
cool
were
money.
projecting to pay
That's
out
cool.
46,000. It was, no one touched this money. This is our safety net money.
so
I
you-
did have 10,000 in there, but because of how high we were on the budget and how much we already have to cut, I took it out. It's not like an astronomical amount that's gonna kill us. I mean,
Yeah, but
10,000
you have
is
a couple
high.
weeks vacation pay and maybe a week sick pay or whatever it is, right?
No,
No? I don't know.
no.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's something that should be looked at.
Well, if somehow that should be in the budget every,
Something.
somehow, I don't know how you do it. I think to have that come out of general fund every time somebody retires.
Well, that would be put into this account. If you want to put 5,000 in there, let's do it. If you want to put 10,000 in there, fine.
And we can project how many people are gonna retire.
Yeah,
What happened to 100 last year?
We're pretty
This
young, I'm hoping
46,000.
for a while.
nothing.
It's still there.
It's still there.
So we could just roll it over,
No,
or is it went back to the general fund?
it stays in the general fund.
Okay.
So kind of what it is if other places in the general fund are going over their budget,
You can use that one.
this is kind of like, it helps the budget as a whole stay on track. So is this 46,000 actually just sitting there? Probably not. It was probably used up by someone else going over their budget somewhere else. But
When I was talking, that's just your department and police department, correct?
no,
The rest,
this is just every city department.
Yeah.
Oh, they all get that?
Yeah, sure, it'd be the clerical, the job.
Yeah, anyone who
Art,
retires
the
can
rest,
pull out of
everybody.
this account.
Would be everybody.
Everything, why?
So we can keep retiring ones, what we people retire.
Well, we don't offer that much vacation time to our employees. When they start their first year, they get a week vacation.
No, right.
So that, it does give them a way to have a little extra vacation time. They're carrying over 40 hours. Then if they want to go on a vacation, then they actually have hours to use up.
So they, the max they can carry over is 40 hours.
Yeah, anything above that, they have to use it. Or I guess we would have to pay out. Or they
Use or
use it.
lose, yep.
Yeah, so there is a cap on it. When people retire, we're not paying out these astronomical.
Like
amounts.
Julie's just retiring right now, so if she had 2 weeks vacation left, that's what we would pay her out, her vacation. And then whatever sick time she would accumulate.
Right, up to a
That's-
cap. There is a
up to
cap
a
on
cap.
it, but I don't know what the cap is off the top of my head, but there is a cap on it, but yeah, we would pay that out.
She can only carry 40 hours back, so I mean, if she carried 40 hours and she had 3 weeks vacation, and she didn't use any of it, she would basically pay for 4 weeks vacation, plus whatever she accumulated.
Oh,
40 hours a year.
Right, Yeah.
No, you can't consecutively carry it over. Like, she can't keep 40 hours a year for 10 years, right?
well, that same 40 hours can keep carrying out.
Yeah.
Right, that's it, she
Not
can't.
also get $400.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, that's what I'm getting at.
Right.
Most places, yeah. You
Well,
gotta,
if these
Yeah,
guys
you
went
gotta
up
cap
to $30,000-$40,000, they got retired.
Those were different kind of payouts.
You don't have that no more? Your department?
Years back, the fire department got paid for 90 days of sick time if they had it left over. Now it's down to 45. It was cut in half. I don't quote me, but that would have been in the time frame of Detective Jay Hart. I think on the fire department side, it might have been Roger Reed might have been the last one to get that full 90. And then through the union contracts and the city negotiation, it went to 45. We can build our up to 90 days, but if I retire at 90 days of sick time, I'm only getting 45.
So it's determined by contract negotiation.
And the employee handbook. They are,
Yes.
but everyone else is the employee.
Yep.
I mean, those are in place to help us with some of these people who have been here 27 years, like Julie. I mean, think about how she could have accumulated a ton.
yeah, you
So
can owe
you
her
cap it,
50,
so-
60 grand.
Yeah.
Even at 45 days.
I mean, if,
Hourly rate, we're still talking $2,000.
Yeah, yeah, but
Huh?
How many? It's not as severe as.
No.
no,
oh,
I thought that was always budgeted, and that's all the last check. Excuse me, last time I was on council, that was never in the budget, I thought, well, where do I supposed to get that money?
then it was nice.
okay. So 23,
Well, I was gonna, I mean, I don't know how open discussion would talk, but in a roundabout way though, if I can interject, I think it's a good problem to have that you're concerned of all the maybe potential sick time people are accruing, because it shows that you have dedicated workers. You know, they're not got, unfortunately, lack of better terms, the sniffles and calling in sick today type thing, so I mean, yes, it is financially a big thing, but it does also show that, the people that are here are here for work and they're coming in.
Well, especially if they don't use their vacation time.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had 2 weeks of vacation, they're like, you carry over a week and you lose a week, yeah, that's dedication.
I wouldn't do that, I would never do that.
Yeah, and there are
I mean,
some
that would burn up my
instances,
vacation, I mean, come on, that's what you get it for.
and there are some instances,
I bet
especially when
there
we've been
is.
short-staffed, where people, they're
They
not
work.
taking vacation to help us.
Yeah.
So if they request, hey, can I take a little over 40 this year to go, so next year when we have more staff, I can actually take a vacation. The department heads can allow that at their discretion.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, next page 23, emergency government, that was the account for the tornado sirens. We just had a meeting last month on what our plan is moving forward with that. We're not gonna maintain the tornado sirens anymore. They've run their life. We're gonna educate people on the next code red, which alerts people, getting that installed, using other forms to alert them. So that's at 0. I apologize, I don't know what the Historical Society $500 is for. It's always been budgeted 500 and we've always spent 500. So I think it's a donation to the Historical Society. If that's an assumption. It could be. It's always 500 and then goes to the Historical Society. I can look into that a little more. Page 26, tourism. The full-time salary is 6,000. I upped it to be a little more accurate on budget. It's been 5,200 for many years and we've been going over it. So I adjusted those a little bit to keep us accurate. That's for the copper culture tour guides. And then the other $908, that's the lease for the Welcome to O'Connell signs. They're on property that's owned by other people, and that's what we pay them to keep those signs there.
Wasn't that on a so many year lease, then we'd have to pay it anymore?
I don't think so, because the signs will always be on their property. We pay them, we up it 3% each year. So this year we're paying $302 to 3 people. And then the 25,500, that's the tourism committee's main budget. They do with it what they want for tourism. I kept it the same this year. In 2022, I want to say $10,000 we took off of it. It was 35,500. We did lower it a little bit, but I think that's still a good amount.
So for the salaries on the tour guides at Copper Culture, the city pays for them.
Mhm.
But what the Historical Society manages them.
Yes, I believe, well, and John too. John works with the Historical Society. Everything dealing with copper culture, the Historical Society and John Bostad work together on all that stuff. They communicate on all that staffing and scheduling and any maintenance of that building. They work together on that.
Don't we get paid from the state to take care of the lawn and everything out there? Do we get reimbursed from the state for tours out there or not?
In a way, yeah, they give us, I believe it's $6,500 we negotiated last year, and we can spend it however we want. So whatever expense we want to put that towards, whatever, use it how we want, is basically what they say.
All right.
Okay. Okay. That is the rest of the general fund. We'll let Josh go then, and then we'll talk about debt service fund last. Fire, do you want to start with the revenues or the expenses, Josh?
Whichever way the system's been developed. I don't want to change it up now, coming in at the bottom of the night.
tab,
You guys tell me what page to start on and I'll get to it.
tab 1, page 7 is the fire department revenue. That's one that starts with fire insurance.
have you guys been going like line by line or just where the increases were, line by line?
Line by line.
So we'll start out, that 2% dues, you can see that, it's projected at 2022 at 14,787. That should be relatively the same coming in, for 2023. Safe number to be at is just at 15,000. That is money that we get from the state of Wisconsin for doing our fire inspections throughout the city of Oconto and the town of Oconto. It's roughly that $10,000 in return for doing the inspections within the city and roughly the $5,000 for doing the town. So that's coming in from that. Our ambulance fees, that is projected to be roughly at the 900,000. That would be our total ambulance bills, and what the projection fee would be based off of obviously where we're currently at. When you do your adjustments, that is the unfortunate, when it goes ambulance bills with the billing company, they send them to the collection agencies multiple times, get what they can for it. But some, at the end of the day, there's still the write-offs and at the adjustments of that. So it would be unfortunately, a safe guess of 200,000 for a write-off. Hopefully, we can continue keeping as low as we can. The township contracts, that's for the town of Oconto. That contract is fire and EMS. The town of Pensaki is EMS, ambulance service, and the town of Little River is ambulance service. That is a 3-year contract. 2023 will be our 3rd year. But with projection of the 3 contracts, we should be at $104,676 for 2023 for providing them services to our 3 townships. The other fire department charges at $10,000 there, that can stay the same. That is the number. Honestly, I don't know why the 10,000 is there, but in this department.
Sorry, I would have it at 5,000.
Perfect. Because that is actually for us, the fire department safety trailer, which was provided through FEMA funding. We can borrow that out to other departments. They make a donation towards it of $75 to $100. So we just try to keep a collection in case of repairs. So if anything gets broken out of it, we can use that money to make the repairs and so forth. And then, but we've never, in my 2 years, this is now my 3rd budget, obviously never sustained receiving $10,000. The fire department controlled burning. Usually that is the large acreage of burning, which is usually done by the Sportsman's Club. That's usually done once a year, so that's why it's at $50.
Before we move on from revenues, the ambulance fees and the ambulance fees adjustments, we were very conservative on those numbers. I feel that 900,000 can go up if we need to adjust it to meet our levy limit. This is one of the spots that I would feel comfortable changing. We're definitely going to be over 900,000 this year, but 900,000 is very conservative, so it's safe. But if we need to adjust anywhere, this is one of the spots that I would definitely feel comfortable hiring. Our original thought was to put it at $1 million, and then we're thinking, well, 900 is safe. We know we can reach it. Let's lower it down to there. So I think, however.
But, considering 2021 was just over $1 million.
In 2022
was short of 800.
Well, 2022, it's
It's
a lot
gonna be
higher
over
than this already. It's already in there.
It's $1,061,000 for 2022
That's
projected.
projected.
Oh, look at that.
I know.
Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Brittany.
Which actually I did think the fire department projected ones in on purpose because I did those with intention. When that's the only account that I feel that the fire department budget in the past was the one that was struggling the most. It wasn't accurate. Not because they were being careless and going over, because it just wasn't accurate. So I knew it needed the most attention to bring these numbers closer to actual amounts. So when I looked at these projected year end, I did put those in with intentions. You can actually look at that number.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question here. If I understand this correct, you proposed 900,000, okay? But of that 900,000, 200,000 is non-collectible. Okay, so basically at the end of the day, you could almost figure 20%, you're not gonna collect a 20% of what you did, of your budget. Is that consistent?
I would think that would be a fair statement.
And there's really nothing, even with bill collectors,
Because, I mean, over this year, you know, our billing companies, the name of it is LifeQuest. They obviously submit these bills. When they're not paid, they submit them to their third-party bill collector. And it's resent, and you might get a portion of the bill, you might get a very minimal amount, you might get the ones that agree to make a $20 bill payment, you know, a month to try to get it paid off. And, you know, it's just, over time, you know, whether they keep paying, great, but it's just sometimes, yeah, it's no different than, unfortunately, the hospital services of a bigger entity where they're writing off some of these patient bills because there is no money to collect them.
And I understand what you're saying, how they interact with each other, which to a point, I think that it's true, but looking at these projections that I made, from 2021 to 2022, the ambulance fee revenue went up 17%. The adjustments went down 6%, so they don't necessarily coincide with each other.
okay. Josh, let me ask you this. And you may not know this, compared to other communities, does that seem like 20%? Does that seem like what's consistent over years?
I can't really give you an honest, what other communities have, I don't know what all I know is last year, if this helps in anything.
Okay, here's my next question. Do you have a second option? Like West, they turn it over to their bill collector. Do you have another option for an additional or a different bill collector?
This third party does everything that they are legally bound to do and can only go so far with it by the state. You know, they have what they can, how do you want to say? At the end of the day, if the horse doesn't want to drink water, you know, they're not going to turn around and pay money, you know, it's not paying money. The bill collector's doing everything they can to get us our funds.
Wow. Okay.
And
how come to you from the industry side of things? If I have a bill collector that's going to leave 20% on the table, I'm going to try another bill collector. I mean, that just seems like that's an awful lot of money left on the table. I don't understand.
in public service though, I don't think 20% is terrible from what I'm hearing. I do believe, no, that's the insurance side. I was thinking some of it could be related to Medicare and Medicaid that we're behind too, but that's a whole other line item, I believe. Because like last year, 63% of our calls was of the age of the Medicare and Medicaid patients. And we leave the garage door, we know we're not receiving half the bill because of what's Medicare and Medicaid paid.
You send it, when you go out, you send your collector, you send them your bill?
Yeah. Our ambulance reports get put into the system and LifeQuest sees those on a daily basis and then they in turn send that bill out.
So does LifeQuest, you pay LifeQuest an annual fee? You have a choice in them, an alternate to LifeQuest?
No, a lot of industries use this LifeQuest around this area. I know of a department that does their billing themselves as an individual, but I've been told through other chiefs that is a high risk, high liability task to take on because obviously not knowing all the proper ins and outs and the legal side of sending out the bills and what to do from there. So I've been told in my short term of being as the chief that LifeQuest is the best in the industry and they provide you the best service and the best working relationship.
What does LifeQuest charge you here?
We'll get to that when we get to the
I was gonna
expenses.
say it's in the expenses, but I think it was 50,000.
So LifeQuest charges you approximately 50,000. Okay, all the invoicing goes through them. They turn over their bill collector and they leave 20% of the billings are left on the table. But you paid 50,000 to use them. I have a tough time swallowing.
I mean, this year is a high year for collections, but if you look, I mean, they're not always this high. This year was a high year. But if you look back, I mean, they're not always 25%.
I guess I just haven't done. Okay. Oh, Gene,
Well,
I was just gonna say, you know, when you think of the past couple of years have been really weird. People have not been working, they probably have less money to pay their bills. And they're just now getting that money, so. It feels like we probably could, with confidence, say that we could reduce that amount by 50,000.
And we
Or
certainly
more, I
can
don't know,
work
what
with
do
diligence
you recommend?
see if there's other contractors we can.
Steve?
I know it's Medicare, Medicaid, one of those, I know you said like 60-some% of our patients that we're picking up are underneath that. And I was talking with Deb about that, because she does billing, you know, for Bellin. And whatever, it's one or the other, and I'd have to ask her again, it's either Medicare or Medicaid. So if you bill one of those patients out in Medicare or Medicaid, whatever one it is, gives you $150. Okay, so we lose $350. You can actually bill out the homeowner for the balance, right? Okay, so is that where we're running into issues, is they're
There are
not,
the ones
that
that,
are
you know,
paying?
that'll either not, maybe they don't have the funds at
Okay.
all, or they're the ones that are attempting to make a monthly payment of a minimal amount.
So I just making sure you're aware of that it's one or the other. I figured you knew that already.
If you don't pay that, can you put it on the tax?
No, you
Yeah.
don't. No.
Property, well, just hold on, you do have an option, at least come from business, you have an option to file a lien.
I don't think that is in the public service an option. I would have to verify it, but you can't put a lien on somebody in the public service because we're here to help them.
Well, you're not putting the lien on them, you're putting the lien on their property. That's the only thing that.
I'll check on it, Mr. Mayor, but I don't think you can.
But the only thing that means is, I'll use this for example. You go to the Bayer home, okay, and whoever lives there, service them with the ambulance call, okay? You don't, and your bill is $2,000. They don't pay it, okay? And you go through LifeQuest and they, okay, it's, you got $2,000 unpaid. Okay. What you would do in industry is you file a lien on that piece of property for $2,000. That $2,000, you may not get that, but they can't sell that piece of property without satisfying that lien on that property. In fact, that's what basically happened at the golf course.
Or basically.
You know, I just don't like seeing 20% of the buildings that you just kind of write off with no recourse. They can't do anything, because filing a lien, I mean, that's, Frank should be able to do that very little effort.
But it's the public service. We're here to service our community. I get it. Yeah, but you can't base otherwise I'm gonna have elderly laying at home on their floor for weeks on end because they're hurt and they can't afford the ambulance.
No, I'm not saying don't service
But if they don't call because they're worried about the bill, that's the other side of it that I gotta think about. Because there are people that are trying to be the best they can at whatever age of being fiscally responsible, and if they know they're getting a bill, they flat out aren't calling, and they're injured, and they're hurt, and they need help.
You can look at it where you're legally allowed to do that.
I have one more question. So unfortunately, you pick somebody up, they pass away, do we go after their estate for that, for that money? You know, you go pick somebody up, they pass away, you bring them down to Green Bay, you know, so your guys they owe $1,000. Do we actually, go after their estate for that?
It gets sent to
To the guy and then they,
however it gets divided from there, yes, but the bill does still get sent.
cause I just wondered how my dad passed away, I'm pretty sure that my stepmom didn't get a bill.
Put a notice in the paper, on the credit.
Right, that's what I was getting at.
Put a notice in there, and you got a certain amount of days to pay off the bill or something.
But that's what I'm wondering, if this company that we use, I mean, if they're unfortunate, somebody passes away, are they doing that? Are they making sure that they go after the estate for that money? Because you can't settle an estate if there's debt owed, you know, to the city of Ocotillo or to whoever. I'm just saying, I mean, but I agree with you, you know, you kind of a tiptoe subject here. You don't want old people to sit home and think they can't call the ambulance because they can't afford the bills.
The bill gets sent when you transport a patient,
Yeah.
if they pass, obviously, there's a bill associated.
So,
If we get called and they're beyond help at their residence, we don't send out a charge to go there to verify that they are beyond help.
Do, county residents get charged more than city residents?
If they're within our response area, they're considered the same through the billing company. So we have, response area and non-response area. So obviously, town of Pensaki is a response area, Little River is a response area, but if somebody's coming through on the highway, and if we can just use Petchfield as their mailing address, as a non-resident, then there's an increase in the bill.
The other way, because they pay you for your service. What I was getting at, because the city pays on the budget, and pay, you know, and they don't get higher fees for it.
Right. But yeah, so the townships are paying those contracts to be considered our area resident. In turn, they get that area resident.
And it does pay tax.
do we, our ambulance fees, are they, I mean, are they based on, like, are they going up like this year too? You know, like like every time you go out, or is it?
So what I found in looking back and trying to develop a trend, it seems like about every couple of years, we get a memo from LifeQuest, hey, billing sees this increase and we suggest these rates. And we had just upped the rates at the beginning for 2022. So at the end of 2021, I got the memo. At that time, billing rates were pretty out of sort. And it was a considerable jump just to get them back into what the billing company recommended for our area and what they see comparables around it.
Gotcha, so they bill for other agencies, so basically, they're telling you about what the going rate
Where
is.
the trends are.
That's why I was kind of curious as to how we come up with the, rates.
And then they have it broke down by the, level of care or the service that the patient receives.
Okay,
Taking blood pressure and a pulse and driving into the hospital because you just weren't feeling good for a week on end, that is roughly gonna be a $900 bill.
Right.
We turn around and we take a patient and put oxygen on and establish an IV and transport to the same place. Well, now you're escalating up to about $1,200 because we added extra skills to that.
makes sense.
I think we can go explore the lead right.
That would be something you'd have to ask council or Frank on that.
Yeah.
I mean, in all reality, if it's something that could be done, I mean, it's not gonna affect the business at all, you know?
They already called.
You're already called, right? It would still give the people a sense of security too, like, being able to still call. You know, like my mom, hell, I'm calling them up, I don't care, my kids can worry about it, if they put an email.
I don't know if that's the kind, I don't even know if that's the kind of community you really want.
I know, I don't know either.
$2,000,
Yeah.
they put a lien on someone's home.
Yeah.
Think about it. Is this what O'Connell represents? I don't really think so. I mean, regardless, what if they can't pay it? The elderly have fixed income. We're raising their taxes right now, and we're talking questions that could be done on the city council meeting. We're here to do a budget. We're here to cut some money. Here. What, you got $24,856 cut so far, we need another 82,000? Well, we aren't gonna get it if we're gonna sit here and discuss the ambulance and all this. We need to start cutting, we need to start checking these things out and looking at them. That's what we used to do, we used to dig into these things. Man, we could lower taxes. We would find out, what is this? Is this really what we need? Can we up it 50,000, like you said here, on the ambulance? If it's a good call, we can do it. If it's just upping it for the hell of it, just to get up to where we're supposed to be, that's not a good call. Okay? I did this for 6 years. I just don't think this is the community that we want to live in. I mean, we're up and we're charging for more bags, we're charging for citizens for more launch fees, we're charging them for $40 now for whatever. Those are still taxes to me. When you live in the city of O'Connell and you pay your taxes, you're still being taxed. You can call it anything you want. You want to call it fees, it's taxes. So let's go here, let's start getting some money down here, let's start getting this where we're supposed to. We can even go lower than that if we have. Because quite frankly, I still don't like that number, what you really want. There's gonna be a lot of PO people around this town. They get their tax bill around Christmas. There's gonna be some times where you're gonna have to put your big boy pants on and big girls, whatever, because they're gonna come and they're gonna bitch at you. And there's gonna be a lot of people running for city council in there, which is great. You know, see what it's like.
This was dealt to this council.
It was dealt, but here we are, we're in it.
Well, that's what I was saying, if we could figure out ways
We're
to
in.
raise the revenues,
So
maybe we could drop that rate
we
down.
can't just toss it away. This is the hand we're dealt. Now we have to go from here.
So do we, so the ambulance fees, do we feel confident we could raise that?
I think we should wait till we're done with the budget and see what
Okay,
we're.
but that's an option, we can put that up to park that off to the side.
Yeah.
And then maybe, also park off to the side, reducing or changing the -200,000 to maybe -150.
Yeah, let's revisit that at the
Okay.
end and
All right.
and reassess that.
Good plan.
Okay, so are we done with revenues then?
Yep.
Fire expenses are on page 36.
So looking at these pages, Brittany, I don't know if you want to fill in and do any discussion on those tops that you always handle for me.
Sure.
Obviously the salaries
If you
and all.
want to change the health insurance first, you can start that off right away. It's going to be 162,554. And then the full-time salaries, you can see on the sheet, everyone's getting a 2% increase. You can see their new numbers there.
Why is your retirement so high?
Good question. The reason why the it looks like there must. I think last year there was something wrong in the spreadsheet, that it was not accurate. Because if you look at that number, 106, that isn't even gonna cover what we're spending this year. I don't know if there was. Everything looks right on this sheet to me. I can look a little closer at that though, why that's such a big difference.
So the 24.22%
Mhm.
is, that number is 132,000.
Right, looking at this sheet though, it looks like this is correct and that last year there may have possibly been some kind of mistake, but I'll find that out. I'll just have to look at the old spreadsheet. Start us off at overtime, Josh.
Go overtime. All right. So as you can see, overtime has been always a line item that I'm over in. For my 2 years being at the fire chief's position, I was never allowed to add any more than that, what was established at 55,000. So in that 2 years' time, our call volume continually increases. Obviously, the wages continually increase, but there's been no compensation in what we were allowed to budget. So when we got the budget sheets, we were looking at the time, I was at about 72,000. Trying to get into the ballpark of what would be realistic in hopes that 75,000 would cover when a year comes. But obviously, it's the call line that I can't predict. And you need personnel to come in from home to cover these calls. So I was requesting the 75,000 in hopes that it gets us closer to what the actual end of year cost would be in overtime. 2021, remember, that is obviously significantly high, but that was COVID time. So it was there, I don't remember offhand, but obviously there could have been the potentials of multiple people sick due to COVID and we had to cover them shifts and fill them. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but that obviously could have something to do with that.
The reason why the 2022 budget is at 85,695, it originally was 55,000, is that correct?
Yes.
So for the past how many years, we've been budgeting 55,000, but because we were trying to stick to budget so diligently and we have had an open spot in the fire department with not filling Travis's spot, we took what we would have spent on Travis out of the full-time salaries and put it into that overtime budget to keep us closer to budget and keep us more on track. So our full-time salaries still should come to budget, and overtime, as you can see, is a lot closer with that budget adjustment. We're not really going down this year. We are budgeting more. It just.
Josh, are you gonna need that overtime? Don't you have the added fire person this year?
In January, we'll start it, but that's still, it'll help reduce when with the extra person we'll have what is called a floor on each shift, pending vacations, the FLSA. But if it's during the daytime and myself in the office, obviously me and that third person for the day on that second call, allowing the availability for them guys to stay at home. In 2021, through 20 of 21 up until the October budget time, that time frame, the percentage of calls during the daytime, it was like there was probably out of 60 some overtime calls at that time. Maybe 20 of them landed during the daytime that could have been covered. So we're not reducing it with them, or not eliminating overtime with this getting this person in January, but it will reduce it. training and overtime conferences. Been talking a lot with Brittany on that. This number you'll see reflects the same number that was previously stated for that 2% dues. So I've been talking with Brittany, I would like to get training and conferences as a separate line item and 2% dues in their own line item. Because the 2% dues that we receive from the state are very strict on what we can use that money for. That money can only be used for fire prevention stuff, fire inspection, or to purchase a piece of equipment that you don't have. Anything other than that is not acceptable, and the city would have to pay that fund back if there was an audit conducted by the state. So I'd like to have a separate line item for training and conferences and put $4,000 into it, which would allow me to send firefighters on to NWTC if they wanted to do an example, become an emergency service instructor or a firefighter 2 class or whatever seminar for education that would come up throughout the year. Right now, the way the line items read, it's pretty muddy, it's pretty hard to follow. And I would like just to keep it separate, that I got a budget line item with 2% dues, which we discussed, but now I have a conferences and training one with $4,000 for the year.
The way that it's set up currently is this training and conferences is where he takes out those 2% dues, but also where he charges non-covered expenses. So it's impossible to follow it. If we were ever audited by the
State.
whoever, whatever.
Of the it's DSPS that provides.
Yeah, if DSPS would ever audit us and say, look, making sure we're spending them on appropriate expenses, it would take us forever to dig that out. So putting it in its own account, we got it.
So you're saying that the 12,787, am I reading this right?
Yeah, it is 12,000. I upped, it should be 15,000. It just matches the expense that, I did have that at 12,000, but we actually made more money than that this year. So I upped to 15, forgot to up this one to 15. So they canceled each other out. So then he would be asking for an additional line item that's not currently on here. That's $4,000. So we would be adding $400,000,
Easy.
$4,000 to the 82,000 that we're over the limit right now. Right. Mm-hmm. Because that 15 isn't really an amount he's
So-
asking for, it just zeroes out that revenue we have coming
I have a question on this training and stuff. So, I hope this doesn't happen, but when we train somebody, you train one of your guys or whatever, say we got investing a couple, $2,000-3,000 for him to do this, and this. Then all of a sudden, 6 months later, he leaves and goes to Green Bay to work. So we're basically out that training, but Green Bay benefits from it. I guess, I don't know, I'm just, I mean, is there holding them accountable for anything? Like I know, like my son has a job in Green Bay. He signed a contract with his employer. He put him through 4 years of schooling. My son has to work for him for 2 years when he gets done with his journeyman's license. He's got to work for that company for 2 years. So I'm saying is we're investing all this time and money into these guys. Are we confident? Are we making sure? We hope they don't leave, but so if we do that, we're paying for this and they leave, we're just out, right?
So yeah and no, if I can answer it that way. My yeah being, you're exactly right. We could put time and effort into these people and they have nothing that says they can't.
Okay.
But on the fire side of things, for them, typically we're talking, for somebody new that comes in the door, we're sending them to school, we're talking about $300 to $400 to get them to fire school.
Okay.
Is that a lot of money right now? It sure is. But at the end of the day, to get thousands into them, they would have to be vested for years to
They
get
would be here.
just because of the way the semesters are even at WTC, they can't get into 3-4
I know you can't
courses.
predict what they're gonna do.
And then,
I was just looking at the 15,000, like you said, we're trying to get our budget here a little bit more, if we could somehow trim certain things, that's what we have to look at doing.
but that 15,000 is the 2% dues that we have coming in.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
that's on the other page that we looked at before?
Yes.
That 2%?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Also,
Also, that's included in that number?
yep,
Okay.
so that was
That's the money
established,
we get from the state?
that was established before Brittany or I, either one of us were here, but 2% dues and training conferences were always together. And
So that's 15 grand.
15,000.
Yeah, 15,000, that is reflected in this number. That change.
But
Okay.
that 15,000,
Just trying to
but that
understand.
15,000 can only be used
It's a little overwhelming,
for
but
three things, three types of training.
Okay.
And if it's not those three types of training, or two types of things in that equipment, it has to stay and keeps building.
so if we got audited on that, we weren't using it for what we're supposed to be, then we're in trouble.
We're in trouble, I mean, you have to pay the state back then.
Okay, I understand now, it took me a little bit.
Nope, so that's why I would like to get it in a separate line item, and then if.
I
you can-
understand now, yep, makes sense.
Steve, typically what you're referencing, scholarship agreement, employee scholarship agreement, that you retain that employee for X amount of time.
Okay,
I take it we don't have that.
There, ironically, there's nothing established, but I've been contemplating on how to bring that up, or to bring that in.
well, I just hate
So
to
if
see you
someone-
lose your guys once you train them.
You know, the hard part is, that's exactly it. You know, how do you can't
Force them.
force them because they're coming in as a paid on call, and if they would be fortunate to get a career job somewhere,
Yeah, before.
that's it too. You know, right now, fortunately, we don't have a high turnover on the paid on call side. We have a great staff that, as it allows and it fits their schedules, if they want to attend trainings, if they do, and they're here, we got a pretty good crew that's staying around, and, what's a benefit is, they're hometown people, and they want to stay close.
Nice.
So Josh, an individual you mentioned that wants to go to NWTC, the city pays for their schooling for them to be an instructor.
The city pays for their testing. It's a state-funded test, or a state-funded course. So we buy the book.
Yeah.
And we buy we pay for them to take their test. So a book could be $120, $130. State test is $80.
Okay, so we pay for the testing. They pass the test and now they're instructor. So who do they instruct?
So now they have it helps the fire department, because now if we get audited for our in-house training, we have certified state of Wisconsin certified instructors instructing our members here at the department. And if they on their own elect to get a side job in NWTC, I mean, that I can't stop what they do on their own, but we have 8 certified instructors right now in-house that are able to conduct our trainings that we have, and it's all, it has, has the syllabus built, it has objectives and our goals that are met, and we were able to conduct that in-house and confidently know that we're following what is provided by the state.
Okay, that's if they stay here. But if they go, let's say they go to Marinette. Okay, and one of the credentials is that they hire them on their certified instructor. But the city, O'Connell paid for their instruction. How do we recoup those costs?
I think my opinion is these people are getting extra training, are not putting in for any overtime, we're doing it on their own, so I think that's probably the payback. They're on their own time attending these trainings to make our department better, and if they go elsewhere after it's all completed, again, how do I can't. Next one was telephone, just went up $100, just unknown of what, percentages it'll be for the new year as far as rates and usages, but also a little extra due to the fact of, implementing that billing system they all have to have a FirstNet SIM card installed on the computers, which all have a small fee to them. So that's why you see an additional 100 there. Contractual fees, unfortunately went up 20% roughly. 2021, as you can see, we are up at that 14,000 range. 2022, I don't know what the projection would be, how close that is, but at the end of the day, our contractual things, I'm sure, like anything, our rates are going up, whether it's contractual as far as our oxygen that we gotta buy for the ambulances. We have annual testing that falls underneath that, and it just unfortunately keeps creeping up.
This account too was another one where the costs aren't actually going up 20%. It was just poorly budgeted. Every single year that I went back, we were never under that $11,000. So we were going over it every year. So we need to budget it more accurately and put it up where it needs to be.
You know, along with that, just like City Hall, we have a printer copy machine that has a monthly bill that comes in. For the living quarters, the TV by Spectrum, you know, we got that monthly bill that comes in. So I mean, it's just trying to get us a little bit closer to the ballpark. And there are, like I said, just a few of those other services from the outside with annual testing that are falling within that sometimes get extra increases, or if you need contractual service and there's a repair, they just use that to be my fun time. Our equipment repairs, usually anything for hand tools, equipment, and or obviously all the apparatus itself. Just slightly increased due to, you know, we're another year older on things, wear and tear. Last year, you know, we put a set of tires on one ambulance. We probably got the third ambulance that needs a set of tires for 2023. We also have to do on the ambulances starting next year is an annual DOT state inspection on those ambulances for making sure they're roadworthy. We just had a state inspector in to check the rig over and notified me that it's mandatory now to do a DOT inspection.
You don't right now?
I've had them on the fire truck since I became fire chief, and for whatever reason, never put two and two together. I'm just being honest. With the ambulances, never knew. And with the fire trucks, that was $1,623 for that DOT check. So obviously, I'm gonna have to have a little more because now I gotta add 2 ambulances to it for the DOT.
Where do you bring them to, Josh?
The state inspector comes right here for us.
Oh, he does?
Yeah. So.
That's nice, you don't have to go somewhere.
Yep. When the state inspector comes, for state certified inspector, he's also with Fireside, he's the one that does our pump testing for us.
Okay.
So they'll send, from Renards, it's called Renards, 2.5 hours away, they'll send 2 people up. So when one guy's doing our pump test, the second guy's doing our checks on the rigs and stuff.
So that's in this,
Underneath my equipment. Other than that, I don't foresee, knock on wood, any big expenditures coming up, but over the course of a year, just the general equipment repair obviously adds up quite a bit. Office supplies, printing, reproduction, I kept that the same. Page 37, excuse me, the polling allowance. They're allowed through contract to have $650 per person. So you do 650 with the extra person in 2023 would be 8 people total. Should be 5,200, not 54. So we can come down a couple $100 there. Safety equipment, whether it ranges, you know, anything safety related, just increase it slightly by 3%, just in case, because even as when you get to our air monitoring devices, when a sensor goes out, that sensor potentially is almost $500 that's inside of this monitor. Well, that's a piece of equipment, some supply and demand. You can only anticipate next year there's going to be a slight increase in all of that stuff. So, you know, we're sitting relatively well in that line item right now currently, and just with the 3% should make us a nice, you know, be well within our means for next year. Gas and diesel, significant increase. Again, in my 2 years, that has never changed. If it had, it was very minimal. So that started out considerably behind, I believe. We were fortunate last year with Jeremy having them prices locked in for us for 2022. I did not get an opportunity to talk to him to find out what the prices would be for 2023. So just based off of that projection number, what we actually used in 2021, I just threw that 16,500 down. But I did not hear from Jeremy on what the prices would be. Operational supplies, that's the equipment, mostly, I would say 90% of them supplies is restocking of the ambulance supplies that are used. And just increase that slightly to go up to 30,985. Postage, you can see stayed the same. Property and liability, Brittany.
Yeah, those are just gonna stay the same until like we get better quotes.
Okay. Page 38. This year is our paid on call side of things. So that's our staff. Like, I'd like to remind you that there is currently 16 paid on call. Of that 16, there is 2 that are strictly trained in fire, 2 that are strictly EMS, and the remainder 11 are cross-trained fire and EMS. I don't know if the numbers were ever really accurate as far as how they were maintained in years prior. I don't even recall last year if there was a pay increase to paid on call, and if there would have been, obviously that changes the their pay rate, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I can speak on that. They do get the 2% increase like everyone else. They were making $15.20 in 2022. In 23, they're making $15.50. And why that number went up so much is I went back 6-7 years, did the estimates. They estimated all of them together, estimated 3,200 hours a year at that $15.50 rate. So this will get us up to where we need to be. We've always been going over that budget amount just because I don't think it really changed from year to year. I think it's always been staying the same, which obviously it needs to increase because they get an increase in wage. So we're getting it up to where it needs to be. And then each year you'll see that small 2% increase with that or whatever the wages go up.
If there's any questions as far as their Social Security, their retirement, health insurance, life insurance, feel free. Brittany will answer that all day long. And the clothing allowance line item there at 3,000 is staying the same. So with that, I mean, that's a uniform top and pants. Those that are cross-trained, if they've been proficient in their skill set, have their recruit books done, have the availability of their EMS license and fire cert one. If there's a shift that needs filling, we can offer it to them. So obviously they need to be dressed appropriately. The blue t-shirts are usually a training night type thing. They'll come in dressed with blue t-shirts on. If any of these individuals take NWTC courses, they'll wear their nice polo shirt just to try to make it as professional and appropriate looking as can be. And then there's always the allotted sum in there for after a recruit period, which is 18 months. If they're still with us, everything is going good, then they get their final congratulatory thing, and it's their Class A dress blue uniform, so that if there's a funeral, if there's a special ceremony, they can dress in their Class A uniform and be dressed just like any other firefighter would because they do the same duties. But staying at that 3,000 keeps us within that and just helps keep them suited and appropriately dressed.
The 3,000, that's for all of them.
All of them, correct. Page 39, our contractual service line item, that is LifeQuest. So they do, it bases off the percentage of the revenue that does come in. So last year at 2021, it was at that 57,000. Projecting today, or this year at 20, or 63,000. So just put the 64,000 on that one as a projection. I don't know with the adjustments, Brittany, that we talked about earlier, if that would change that up at all.
I have it 69, but these two numbers as well, when we budgeted these two numbers, I can show you guys the breakout sheet that we did. We were very conservative on them. So if we need to adjust, these two numbers are also, would be where we can look at. And again, you guys, I can have you look at these sheets where you can see the past years. I went back to 2017 and did the projections and yeah, so these are two very conservative numbers.
And Brittany, correct me if I'm wrong, the ambulance other, that's what we're actually receiving, correct? So like our gross revenue?
Nope, that's an expense account.
Oh, that's the expense, okay.
So that 400,000, that's the expense update to run the ambulance for the year?
So that's an ambulance other expense. When you read the LifePlus billing, Julie does these journal entries for me. So when we were doing these budgeting, we weren't positive what these expenses were 100% sure. They bill us on a percentage. How do they calculate those percentages? We don't know. I do have a meeting with LifeQuest to get a better grasp on how their billing system works and a better understanding of what these other expenses are. But
So these are LifeQuest expenses, the 469? No. 69,000 for the contractual services and the ambulance other 400,000?
they are fees that come from LifeQuest. That's not what they bill us to do their service. It's deductions that they take off of it. I can't tell you exactly what it's for. After we have our meeting, I can tell you what it's for, but it's not clear on their bill when I look at their bill. So I need to get a better understanding of why we do those journal entries for those amounts. And I'll bring it to council once I can meet with them.
Well, LifeQuest is charging the city that kind of money?
That's not fees that they charge. It's like deductions from the revenue, but I can't
That
tell you
other-
for what.
Now that Brittany's talking and it's jogging some with talking with LifeQuest, that might be our Medicare and our Medicaid. That's what's non-collectible because the elderly is on Medicare or Medicaid and like we were talking, a resident ambulance fee is at $900. Most Medicaid, don't quote me on which one, the most that'll get paid is $400 from one or the other. So, if we're dealing with someone with that type of insurance, so this could be their deductions because of Medicare or Medicaid that we're leaving, we can't collect that kind of money from them.
So they take that out of the money that they were supposed to pay.
I think this is their way to show what is non-collectible because of the insurance. It's not that the bill was sent, but unfortunately, we have billed it to their insurance, Medicaid paid $400, and now that's $500 that you're not gonna get because they have the insurance, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Or is it the 500 that the city makes that pays the difference? And total of all those over a year, it's coming actually in 2022 was 303,000. It's an expense.
I don't believe so. I'm almost positive when this was explained to me that this is what is unfortunately left over and it's an expense because we're not getting it. But the expense was the ambulance leaving the garage.
I guess we would need better explanation.
Well, yeah. When we're budgeting these numbers, we're budgeting, what they've consistently been. So the budget numbers are fine, but I do have a meeting with them because like I said, when I was doing the budget, I don't understand what these are for. These are very vague descriptions. So that made me reach out to them hey, we need to have a meeting because I need to understand this better. So we will bring that to council once we can get some more concrete definitions for you, but it's not gonna change the amounts that are budgeted. Because if we can't control them, we can't control them.
Yes, but I was thinking, that's, like, quest, charging back, it'd be better off to do it ourselves.
No, no, we
The
would not.
liability that you
We
would
could
take.
not pay an employee to do that. We'd have to hire a specific employee trained to do that.
You're not less than 479,000.
No. The LifeQuest fees are the contractual services. I can tell you for a fact, those are the fees that LifeQuest charges us for their service. That 69,000 we're budgeting, that's the fee. Not the 400,000, the 69,000.
When is your meeting with LifeQuest?
I'll have to let you know. After budget season. No, then we have a capital account. So if you go to tab 10,
Just hold on, Brittany, I do have, why, okay, we don't know if this is an expense, 400,000.
it's an expense.
Okay, why did we increase it? We knew in 21 it was 336, 22 was 303, and we budgeted 230,
That's 2022 budget,
right? Why did we increase it to 400?
because we were well over that 230. This 303,462 is to date as of the end of October, so that's gonna get bigger. It's gonna be about 360,000
So your actual in 2022 was 303, correct?
to date.
Today,
It's gonna get bigger.
so we still got 2 months left.
Yeah, that's actual to date, to 10/31.
Okay.
So it's gonna get bigger. I would estimate it would be about 360, 370.
That's why you're saying this is one that we adjusted.
I feel more confident adjusting the other two we previously talked about, but these, I think, could also be adjusted if need be. These are a little closer to accurate.
Okay. Moving on.
Okay, Josh's capital is tab 10, page 4.
Pretty, just make sure I'm on this right page, that's my 52,200,810 account.
Yes.
My page number here is 21.
Yep.
Just requesting to go up 5,000 at a $40,000 total amount in my capital budget. Went up a little bit from last year. Due to that is because next year I'd like to get our aerial ladder in at Menards for, a thorough maintenance performance on the pump itself, and that's roughly a $5,000 bill. Last year in 2021, we had pump issues with one of our engines due to no specific style of maintenance and thorough maintenance being done. There's a packing and things that are called within the pump and the gears, but that was leaking and it would not hold our prime, but it was a $17,000 fix to get that truck fixed and operational. The year prior, when I came in 2020, at the beginning of 2020, Chief Reed had sent in the other engine for pump repairs, and that was a $21,000 bill. So to try to eliminate those significant bills, I'd like to get the ladder truck in next year for $5,000 for an internal maintenance program, I'll call it. They go through, make sure these packings are tight. The inner parts of the pumping and the flowing of the water has gone through and broken down, cleaned up, updated, things like that. And then moving forward, every 3 years, these trucks would keep cycling, the following year then I'd go back to the main engine. The year after would be another engine, and then 3 years from next, so 2026, would be the ladder truck going back, just to try to have some type of a maintenance program in place, but to eliminate those significant repair bills when something goes out. Other parts of the capital that is in there is we have to, update 3 sets of fire gear next year. And that's about $9,000 bill. It's about $3,000 a piece for fire gear. So, you know, right out of the start with the trucks, we got about 14,000 that we can project out of capital that I'll need next year right away. And then obviously anything else that comes up throughout the year. And for those that may not know, our fire gear is on a rotation basis, but it has only a 10-year life expectancy on it. So every 10 years mandated by the National Fire Protection Association, our fire gear has to be up to date and within the 10 years of its manufacturing date. Gear is head to toe. It's the helmet, the jacket, the pants, the boots, the gloves, the Nomex hood, and all of that is about $3,000.
Any questions for Josh?
And I guess for the last 2 cents worth with capital, I mean, obviously that's a rollover account, but it's an attempt to start gaining something because obviously we're in the very near future of needing to replace an ambulance again. Not sure where that comes from, because there was nothing established years ago, but our 2012 ambulance is sitting with 115,000 miles on it, and obviously has wear and tear. Works fine, runs, operates, maintained, but eventually the maintenance starts getting pretty costly when you are running 115,000 miles.
What year is that one?
2012,
2012.
we have a 2012, 2013, and a 2020.
2020?
Yep.
And on the 2012, you have
2012 had, no, the 2012 has about 115,000 miles on it.
what's your 13?
Roughly 82,000 miles. Roughly 25,000 miles.
So which one's your lead one that you utilize the most?
Through the warm months right now is our 2012, because that's the anticipated one that's getting replaced first. So we're acting on that one when I came in the door in 2020 was sitting at about 75,000 miles on it. So we run that one throughout the summer because obviously to try to maintain more miles on the other one, and then when the cold weather months come with the snow on the ground, the 2012 gets ran because that's got 4-wheel drive.
Let me ask you a question here, Josh. In a situation where the city is in financial condition we are, would it make sense to run your 2020 as your lead ambulance and do your 2013 as your second and hold off and run the miles up on the 2012?
If we wanted, I mean, what do I do when I get all 3 ambulances and the significant range of mileage? Are we going to replace 3 of them at once? I know when I was very young, I know that was the mindset, and I know that was a battle back then when they replaced 3 ambulances at a time.
I'm just,
So over the years, it was the staggered effect to try to get it spaced out and try to be just a one replacement.
Trying to buy time.
My concern would be if I came in with a 2020 ambulance and told you that I was already at 50,000 miles in a year and a half or whatever, I think the jaws would hit the table then too. Be like, that's a brand new one and you got that many miles on that?
I mean, no matter what, you're gonna put X number of miles on a year.
Mhm.
I'm just looking at buying time. That you don't have major expense. I guess to finish that thought process, buy time and we can increase the tax base with new housing. That buys us more revenue. That's the thought process. Okay. Any other questions?
Josh?
Thank you.
Josh. Thanks, Josh.
Have a great rest of the afternoon, everyone.
If we just want to talk about it now, and then we'll do the debt service fund. If you go back to page 7, where we talked about those ambulance fees and the ambulance fees adjustment. Page 7. Under tab 1. I would feel very comfortable changing that 900,000 to 1 million. I can pass around this projection sheet. The 200,000, I actually don't. It is going in the right direction. It is going down with the way that Tabby's been coding bills. It gets us more revenue. So it is going down. I think it would be right around 200,000. I think that should stay where it is. But I think we can move that 900,000 up to 1 million. I think we will definitely reach that number.
So then that bottom number become 924?
Yep. Let's talk about those on item 6. Let's just cover the debt service fund first, and then that's every item in the budget. So the debt service fund is under tab number tab number 9. So this 1,025,000 is debt payments that we have to pay. There's no getting, it's not even including that $500,000 loan we had to take out, which we can pay small payments on there and not have to levy for that amount. But this 1 million, unfortunately, the way that they structured the debt was, it's to the end of its life. So we have 2 more large payments, two $500,000 payments, and then it's paid off. And the reason why they did that is because the majority of it is in TIF 4. They thought that TIF 4 would be doing a lot better at that time and it could fund this debt payment. It's not. It can't fund this debt payment. So we have to levy for it.
Let me ask a question.
Mhm,
We're talking about TIF number 4.
mhm.
Okay. What really caused TIF number 4 not to meet expectations?
I can dig out that TIF binder and bring it to the meeting, or you can come in my office and we can go through it. There's a whole binder on it. So I mean, we could go through it and see exactly what their plan was, what they were projecting and why it didn't work out quite that way. We'd have to go through that binder though.
The cities,
What's that?
as far as.
Von Bickle. Von Bickle
Yeah, it's
property.
the Von Pickle property, so I know a lot of that bond money for that was spent on tearing down that building, cleaning up all that asbestos. And then some of it was, it's also where that Copper Cove apartment complex is. Yeah, so,
Riley's is there.
yeah, but I think
Dollar Tree.
the whole expense may even have been just for that Von Pickle, tearing it down.
But the EPA paid for some of that.
There was a brownfield grant that did pay some of it. It's a very small percentage. We can pull that book out and look more deeply into that. But that's just what I know.
That's something we have to do under closed sessions.
No, it's all public knowledge. They can, all those books are on the internet. Anyone can see them.
Okay.
So unfortunately, there's no getting away this number. It's the amount we have to pay on our bonds that we have.
So we have to pay that 1 million
Yeah.
in 2023?
And the reason we can't refinance it is there no way to refinance it and split those payments out another way. Instead of like trying to stress everybody out.
I can talk to Jeff, but I have talked to Jeff quite a bit on this and he did not bring that up at all. So I think he would have brought that up if it was an option, but I can definitely do that before we approve the budget.
I guess I thought Jeff was
No. But I can get I'll talk to him before we finalize this budget and see if that's an option.
So that 1,025,000 is on the sheet that you gave us.
Right, so the way that debt works when you're working with the levy limit is it doesn't go against your levy. As much as you want can go against your levy limit.
Okay.
So if you look on the bottom where it says 1,694,000, that's the levy limit. That's where our levy limit is. We can't spend more than that money except for debt. So all the accounts have to be under that. And then the debt can be, obviously we don't have that money. We have to levy for it.
Okay.
Because we need to pay it. If there was things we could cut from the budget to include some of it into, only part of it into the levy limit, that would be an option. I mean, I don't see where I would cut personally, but I mean, that's an option too. So right now, with that last change that we made, we're under our levy limit. We're $13,136 under our levy limit. So we did it. That's what we had to do. That amount we can either put into that retirement fund, or we can take that 13,000 off that debt service levy. The reason why we didn't do that, we put that 46,000, obviously we didn't have a large debt payment last year, is because when you're in a deficit, you need that cushion because there's no money to fall back on. So we needed that cushion. This year, I would say the same. We probably need that cushion. We need to get out of this deficit.
This is how much you expect the taxes go up to $365 for each house.
With us being over that, $106,000 over that amount. So that number will change now that we lowered it. I can pull it up on this computer and see exactly what that would be. Well, let me tell you. I have it.
Taxes won't that much, I had a hard time handling all raises.
Have a hard time.
That hasn't been approved yet either.
No, that's all in the budget here. Good. Oh, man, sorry.
That's a dirty word.
Okay, I'll have to come back with that number. We can take a small.
Stay.
Just 5 minutes. I just run to my office and get that.
Right. So the tax levy for last year was 208, 976. Is that correct?
Last year, the tax rate was $10.14 per, or $10, 14 cents per 1,000. That's the rate.
Put 6% rate for retirement.
Tax rate last year was $10.14.
Okay.
So this is a new one now. Without this,
6%.
taxes would have went up $3.65 to $13. 36% in tax rate increase. That's what I said, when people see that. There won't be a lot of building in the city of Ocala if that's the tax rate for this year, for next year.
Well, I don't understand, we're eliminating the building inspector position, that's saving how much money, and you're still.
Still,
Get an
this
extra
year's
$1
going
million
to
bucks.
go
Oh, that
I
extra
don't know
million,
who
like
you-
Butch said, that extra million, it's killing us.
Yeah.
From TIF 4, right?
Yeah.
What's this other tax levy with the kid on the bottom? Is that different?
That's TIF 4 is in there, that $1 million.
No, there's another one. With, like 76 or 78 dollars.
What was it?
There's a tax levy of kid right there, 76 to 78. Where's that? What area?
I don't know. So that's another.
This is,
Yeah, it's included here.
it's probably for the one.
Golf course?
Yeah.
Could be.
Because we have, this is where it was broken out into. When it expired.
Okay.
I think this is
Oh,
how
it's beautiful.
this was done, and it didn't produce enough to pay for itself. It's at the end of its life, and we don't do anything to work.
Gotcha.
So there it is, there it is in the face. But I don't imagine this is the first time that that's ever happened.
Oh, no, I spiked your back.
I
think so.
You gotta pay it, it's almost like.
I heard the units running when we pulled up after lunch.
Work out tight all the time.
Well, I know, but yeah, you had a long sleeve on that. Is it standard practice that if you don't take your health insurance, that you pay a one on it?
You get a certain amount.
Well, I know they're not getting nowhere near what they would get if they took the
Actually, if you
insurance.
opted out,
$4,800.
it was less. If opted on to insurance.
Oh, it saves the city money, big time, right?
Concept behind it, but.
If the employees opted out of their insurance, it was costing us less to pay them a certain amount of money than it was because the city didn't have to pay their share of the,
Well, yeah, I understand that.
which is $1,000.
Oh, 12 grand, 20 grand?
You know, say, the city's, this is network health, so it's gonna be a little bit more, but just the health premium for an employee, the full monthly premium was $1,050. So it was cheaper to have pay out than opt out.
Yeah.
I mean, you go get that day.
Oh, they save a lot of money by opting out.
Well, we didn't, some of them did not.
What's that?
So 13 over?
No, we're under. That's, no, we're not over anymore. That's how much we have remaining. So it's already done, 309.
Well, I'm understanding there's gonna be a lot of reassessments coming up.
Just out of curiosity, if there was no 2% added on, how much that would be savings?
For wages?
Yeah.
Free?
Well,
Overall numbers.
yeah, I can just add them all here.
$2021 is in there somewhere.
Parks doesn't have the total on the bottom, so
Yeah,
it
some-
wouldn't
some-
be that
some
accurate. But I can bring that number to the next meeting, because we're not finalizing anything today.
No, I-
We can vote on the changes we did make today if we want, otherwise we can just, approve it. So I can bring that number.
I have a question, with people that opt out of health insurance, I guess, because I've been self-employed my entire life, I've been paying my own health insurance for 40 years, but so if they opt out, I realize that saves the city substantial amount of money, that shit, a ton of money.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're paying them to opt out more or less, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we didn't pay that, that'd be like $72,672 savings to the city. But is that in the contract, Brittany?
That we need
That
to
we
pay?
have to pay them out, or is that standard practice? I mean, I'm just looking at ways to trim the budget, and instead of taking a raise away from them, I guess you essentially would be taking money away from them no matter what way you look at it. But instead of taking the 2% like Butch is saying, what if we pay them out even half of that insurance payout? Instead of 72, give them, instead of 4,800 a year, give them 2,400 a year, or whatever. I don't even know if this is possible. It's just something that I was bringing up.
It is
You know,
possible,
I
I mean,
don't
we could
even
look
know
at
if it's
it,
an option. So.
but I think that incentive is an incentive, and I think it does save the city
Oh,
personally.
tons.
I took my husband's insurance
Yeah,
because
tons of money,
I
yeah.
wanted to get that,
Right.
otherwise we would have took mine.
Yeah.
So it does save the city money, and if
Right, if
it's
you
not
opt to
mine,
stay with the city, it costs us $20-some thousand
more
dollars.
than that,
Or more. 35, was it? 36?
I'm trying to see if it's, 28, yeah, 29,000,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know it's a huge savings, I just didn't know if that
Something to
was.
look forward to, like, if you move forward, you can't grant all the people in, but new hires, their spouse or the insurance, you offer it to the spouse, if their spouse has insurance, their spouse has to take their insurance, no matter how crappy it is.
We had that at Newcastle. Both had insurance.
I've been in it, my wife had good insurance, I had crappy insurance, I didn't have a choice, I had to take my crappy insurance.
Well, maybe for new hires.
Yeah, like I said, moving forward,
I I don't know, I was just
I,
trying to.
I'm not so sure this is illegal.
They did that, I think, a long time.
Well,
As long as you're offering a affordable plan underneath what the regulations are, you can still do that, yeah.
yeah,
I was justified to do worse too. Take crappy insurance, like that's good insurance.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm saying, I know, but maybe that's in the private sector, in the municipality world, it might be different.
It might be, yeah, so
Right.
you definitely have to check on it.
Yeah, it might be different, whole different thing, so.
Actually, right now, we're just the city of Wacano, my taxes from last year were $1,118.75. And that was an increase in this year, it will go to $1,455.50.
That's all you pay?
That's just for the city.
Huh?
That's just for the city.
Oh, just for, oh, I was like, okay.
Plus the $40
Right,
that you would be putting on,
Right.
it, add that on. And, it would be $1,495.50 from $1,118.75. Which is the city less. So when people see that,
oh, we're gonna be all that bad.
huh?
Yeah, we're gonna get destroyed. But it's really, it's not our fault.
No, and there's, realistically, there could be changes you can make, and you guys can definitely review what you think we can change after this meeting, before the next meeting, but it's really, really difficult. What changes could there be? We already cut most of the capital accounts, there's no carryovers, I mean, we did everything we could to try to avoid this, but we were dealt, all of us were dealt a very fortunate.
One of the things is a lot of work that went on to it was a lot more closer than it has been, I think, in years, because the expenditures and the revenues always jerking them all around. They kept it pretty close. I knew we were gonna do the park and rec, because I told John, I said, we're budgeting, let's do it right. So the rest of them must, well, I told police and fire also. That committee meeting, let's not do this anymore. So there's a lot you can take, but maybe refinancing is gonna be more. We can, because the rates are gonna go up now. But I can't see all of a sudden putting a 30% tax increase in the city's bill. I mean, this is gonna be, well, I think this would be a history making for the city of Wacano.
So what do you propose?
Yeah,
Cut jobs.
Huh?
You have to cut jobs almost.
We can't afford to cut jobs, so something's gotta be done. I mean, we landed in this, you guys were elected, I just volunteered, so we're here. And,
it's a big savings too, I mean, possibly lowering the amount we give them for their retirement. 6%, 7%,
Nope, we can't, we have to match that 6.5%,
Wow.
we can't change that.
Really?
No, yeah, that's,
was that the police?
no, the WRS system,
Oh,
well, it's 6.8 now, it was 6.5 last year. They're required to pay that, we're required to pay that. Some places will chip in more above that, we don't, because obviously it's super high already.
yeah.
But we have to pay that 6.8.
What about a higher deductible on your insurance? Is that an option? I mean, you brought them numbers down tremendously on the insurance.
Mhm.
I mean, that's huge. Right there was, well, you know, I pay like, I got a $6,000 deductible, you know,
7,500.
he's got 7,500, unfortunately.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if we have to cut somewhere and do something, because you don't want to nail people with another $300 on their taxes, then, you know, I guess we have to look at what options are available, what we're gonna do. I mean, tell Mike Graber, he's gotta get his floorboards fixed, he's driving that piece of crap truck for another 2 years. I mean,
I can do that.
you know what I mean? I guess I would like to see, be able to have some options available. Mike, you're driving your truck, West Burns will put a new floor fan in it for you, I'm sorry, but that's the way
I'm
it's going.
serious, they had a truck or had a truck that there was an old stop sign welded to the floor.
He did, the old pickup truck,
Oh,
yes,
that-
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, creative solutions.
You know, maybe a higher deductible, if they don't agree with that, then it might be, well, guess what? The other option would be to trim your 2%, and we don't really care to do that. I don't know.
I see the tax levy can just hit up the idea on the bottom.
Boy, that's, yeah.
It's 78,000 from 76, but where is that exactly? I know there used to be a district over by the post office. That must be gone by now.
Yeah, right now we only have TID 4, which is the bond
That's the
pickle.
only one we have?
And then we just created TIF 5, which is like up by,
The old golf course.
Is that the 78 grand then, Brittany?
that's just TIF 4.
Oh, so the debt that we owe, the 1,025 is from TID 4 plus the 78,000?
That TID 4 on there though is just a calculation of what the taxes are charged in that TID. That's that number. That number isn't expenses that we're spending out of there. I mean,
Included in our budget.
yeah, it's not on that total amount though. I didn't create that.
Oh,
spreadsheet.
gotcha,
That's in
it's
there.
not dark letter, it's not dark,
Right. It's
so
not
it's
included
just
in the
there,
total.
but it's not included in on that total.
That it's just part of a sheet that we have to
Gotcha.
send to the company.
Okay. So that total of 78,849 is not in on that
Right.
total price, it's the dark, bold, black numbers
Correct.
there.
Yep, yep,
Gotcha. Okay, no.
I called Wade, here, before, explain what happened. He said something's gotta be wrong.
I feel like that too.
Is that a loan amount?
No, that all of a sudden there's this big popping.
I can tell you.
It doesn't.
It's right.
Something must have
Something.
failed, because I could understand it if they were all empty lots. But it's
Was this-
not.
Well, what exactly, was this a bond? What was
This loan?
it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
It was a
bonding
bond.
to tear down Pond Pickle.
That's what-
I'll bring all that paperwork to the next meeting. We can put it as a line item and talk about it and look at all the
Yeah.
paperwork.
Yeah, I think we all need to understand what happened.
I don't think.
Because it was full of asbestos.
That's a big structure to rip down.
Well,
And it
yeah,
had a
but
lot
there
of
was a grant
asbestos
for
in
It
that, too.
wasn't so much the structure itself, it was the ground that was contaminated.
Oh, underneath?
Yes.
Well, they did dig that down pretty deep there.
And that's the brownfield
You
grant.
know how many
comes
times
from
they
that.
drain those pickle bats over there with that brine and everything in there? A lot. I spent one whole summer cleaning every one of those freaking tanks back there.
The tree summers there.
Thank you, Bob.
I
And pickles anymore.
Had dreams about pickles. Oh my God, my brother ran a pickle slicer during the day.
So,
I came in at night and there was a gherkin
I don't
hanging
know,
from a noose
I
from
can't
it.
even remember what year that was anymore.
What's that?
They started tearing down bonds.
No,
But
let's see where
I would look back and see exactly, because you must have
It
some.
was a 20-year loan, I think, and every year we only paid interest. These are the last 2 years of it, and we're paying,
Okay,
the $500,000, $525,000 principal back to back.
We paid off the harbor. It would be nice to split that windfall, start paying on the principal back and out there.
Yeah, it should have been handled differently.
So next year, we're gonna have the same. debt payment.
Yes, next year we have another $525,000 debt payment, plus the general obligation debt, which I think is $275.
Plus the following year, we have that 500,000 for the one we just took out, right?
Well, we can make small payments on that. When he was telling me the breakout of how we could pay it, we can pay it pretty much however we want. Stevenson National Bank.
Okay.
He was saying if you do it in a 10-year loan, you can pay $9,000 a year or whatever. We don't need to budget for that. That's a very doable amount. I mean, we don't need to levy, that's what I'm saying.
10-year roll.
It's okay. The way, I'll bring that in.
Yeah,
But
10-year roll,
the way that he was
$500,000,
putting it in, you know, we're very flexible
I
on
want one.
how we said that.
And then,
I think too.
I want to be the low, I want to be the base.
it seems like we're not the only city. What would the league recommend?
How we fix it?
I mean, what would they recommend for different options for us. Instead of throwing $1,025,000, you know.
I can reach out to them. I can reach out to their legal team and see what they,
What do you say,
Yeah.
like rebonding or something?
Yeah, because it seems like that's what you should do right now, instead of trying to pay $1 million that we don't have.
Well, you can cut that
Is
in
there a
half.
way to cut it? Yeah, exactly.
We could just do 500.
Refinance it so we could cut that in
You
half.
can refinance it, you can pay it in another 20 years or 10 years
Or exactly.
with the interest that you'll get, but you'll also be able to pay off 500,000, which is about borrow, and 500,000 you have to have for next year. And then you go in and pay off $1 million.
I think Jeff Belangi should just come to the next
I
meeting,
agree.
because I know all of this too. If we rebond, we're going to need to get a new rating, and our rating is not gonna be good. It's not gonna be the A that it is now.
Well, it used to
Which
be.
is
That's the reason we do what we do, is when you need to have a good rating to borrow.
Yes.
That's why we have an A.
Yeah, but they do the rating before each borrowing. So
We
it's,
used to have, that's why we paid off Harbors, we wanted to keep our rating. Because they were
Rebond-
interest, I
rebonding.
think we were either at triple A or triple
Yeah.
A or double A minus, one or the other we were at, because we wanted to keep that, because it was a good rating, and you get 0.5% off or whatever it is.
Might not be an option, but
well, we can have Jeff come in for sure.
I think
He
we
would be
need
happy
to
to do
explore
that.
it. We need to understand what our options are, top to bottom, left to right, and
Maybe you and the mayor should be on telecom, go with Milwaukee.
We're about bringing
No,
in
I'm-
different investor, or different guys.
I think we should go through Jeff. I mean, he's always done our,
And you gotta remember what he's doing, he's making money off of this too, so maybe somebody else can give you
he's
something
never
better.
charged us for coming in ever. I have
It just-
reached out to him many,
I'm
many
talking about the
times.
rate.
He's come here to meet with us, and he never charges us. He's
I
not
trust
trying
Jeff
to-
myself.
Yeah, he's not trying to
But
screw us
This is
over.
what's funky to me, is that Jeff would not have let us all of a sudden walk into $1 million.
He told Sarah to be budgeting for it. She didn't. That's not on him, that's on her.
Okay.
You know.
But I don't recall him mentioning it in any of, because he always came in to present every single time.
Not the
So this-
budget,
Uh,
the bonding,
The bonding
Yeah.
situation.
right.
And, yeah,
But he did tell her to be putting in the levy limit, a small amount each year to work up to those payments. So it wasn't a huge increase. And it fell on deaf ears, so that's definitely not on him.
Didn't they just kicked out, on the utility, rebonded, higher rating, February.
We rebonded so we could take that loan out for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades.
I think we're gonna have to go through this whole thing. Go through this, some of the items that we saw that, yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to.
I would definitely do that.
I mean,
When you find things like that, I think you can bring it to the next meeting, but we are on a time crunch. I would contact me, call me and tell me, because there are reasons that the budget is the way that it is. I mean, based on prior years, I went back a lot of years. We put a lot of time into this, so these numbers aren't just, well, that sounds good, that sounds great. So if you do have suggestions, please call me and we can discuss that, because we did look very, very hard at this budget.
You're gonna have to pass a budget on the November city council.
We have to, because it needs to be to
Because it
the
has to
county
be
by.
rolled out by a certain time, doesn't it?
well, we have a committee of the whole meeting coming up, right?
Yep, and we can discuss these things there as well.
Or we have to finalize with them pretty much, right?
We have to finalize it on November 22nd.
Right, but I mean, at least hopefully get the numbers that we're looking for on our committee of the whole meeting, so that when we come into council on the 22nd, we can approve it, right?
I'm skipping town that day. I'll be up north.
As long as we have a quorum.
Even the 17th. I'm not coming back on the 28th. So, I'll call you and see,
Okay.
tell you how cold my beer is.
Yeah, you do that.
Well, like that life quest, you got 400,000, you don't really know what that's for.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big number there. I guess we need that.
right, but it's not gonna change the amount. But, yes, we do need to figure out what that's for.
It's gonna be a heck of a Christmas present. You open up your mail, surprise, surprise, there's a 30% increase in your taxes, just in the city. I don't know what it will be with NW, well, plus employee.
The savior would have been if we could have that revaluation.
That won't necessarily affect the tax rates though. It affects the mill rate. So just because they do a reevaluation doesn't mean people's taxes are gonna go up. It just gets distributed a little differently.
Actually, there's a little square box on your taxes, and that's what the assessor said. You always look at that. I think mine's 1.4 between your fair value and your assessed value and that. There should be a number in there. That's what they go by.
And this is all, you know, I mean, if this is difficult, these are difficult decisions, but the one light, the one shining star, I guess, is this, we're projected for the first time in 10 years plus, I mean, I only looked back that far, to have revenues that are higher than expenses. We're on the right track. I mean, the city's moving forward and we're doing great things and it's gonna get easier and easier, so that's positive.
What about the recycling? We still have the old figure,
Oh, I know what you're saying.
right? Change things.
Yeah, that 3,000 has to come out, you're right.
And it would change to,
That's 3,372, right?
Yep, that comes out.
That comes out.
No, that,
Where does that go?
that goes on the revenue line, so that just comes off of the, this is
Right,
just
it
the,
goes
yeah,
away.
yeah, it just goes
Do we have
away.
to add the 41,000 to Rayburg's 217 too?
Nope, that's in there. So the 13,136 plus the 3,372. 16,508. Is the amount we can take off that debt service.
You ready to give up the hanging flowers?
No. I think that's a silly place to try to save money.
Yeah, let's say it's $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we'd have a lot of good stuff. People.
So is there any,
What's the difference if you have to stop people about flowers or you see your tax bill?
Well, it's only a small amount.
it's only a small
So
amount.
what did you say?
You're gonna put flowers on the ground and flowers in the air.
So we can take out-
So beautiful, but it's
It's
just labor.
We take,
The labor, the water.
Very water.
Well, he's,
16,000.
well, he's salary.
he's salary, it
he
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
vary his salary.
His salary does not
Yeah, but
change.
you don't do it all.
Most of the time.
I
know.
99%.
I've never seen nobody
So,
else.
some of them don't.
When the part-timers are here, the part-timers.
Do they during the day maybe?
Yeah, I see Johnny on the weekends there.
Oh, yeah.
When the part-time.
So I mean, naturally, this is our first time going through this. Is there a talking to that like to the departments that you guys gotta trim your budget a little more, or is this the bottom line?
This is, no, there, I mean, you can, but they already trimmed as tight as they can trim. And
So
if you
there's any
take,
trimming that needs to be done, then it's done right here?
it's the hard choices, yeah. But if you take out this debt service, I mean,
Which one are we doing now, Brittany?
we're under budget, so we're doing
We're on the budget, we're still raising our taxes.
Well, it's the debt, it's that.
right,
I mean, that's easy
but
to get
it's
a
that-
budget launch, raise taxes.
because of that one debt payment.
Actually, this should have been taken care of 10 years in a row,
Yeah.
Well, I agree, but,
Yes,
and it wasn't.
yes.
So
so
I
you're
don't
saying
know
like
why.
2 years
We
ago,
never
taxes
heard
were
about this. I
down?
know we,
Good.
After 2 years, yeah,
I wasn't then.
after, yeah.
What about that room tax and all that stuff? Is that gonna help us out at all financially?
If you read it? The commission itself, when it started, the Oconto Economic Development Corporation gets to run it. They'll add a staffer, they get 70% of the room tax collected, and communities get 30%. Then if you make over $1 million, each one gets 2 representatives on the commission. If you make 300, less than 300, you only get 300,000, you get 1 representative on the commission. So you can make whatever it is. I read that whole thing and I was like, I had it underlined, I'm like, what the hell is this? They get 70%. In the 5 communities, is it? I believe Oconto.
Really?
Roswell, Lakewood.
Yeah.
There's one other, I think there's 5 communities.
Split the 30?
But you're right. Oh, I thought, oh,
We split the 30, they get the 70, because they're gonna add and take care of it.
oh, when I read that, I was thinking, oh, we get 30%.
No.
Oh,
It'll be called a, hotel tax.
Yeah, each get 6, like Butch just said, 6%.
oh, so it's very minor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an ideal, it should have been done years ago to the city of Oconto. But the way they're gonna do it now, if you read that whole thing, I mean, you take your little yellow marker, go, oh, I'm orange this, oh, what the hell is that? You know, 30% and 70% they hire and take care of it.
Well, the 70% they're gonna reinvest back.
Well, not only that, but they get to hire an extra person, which means they gotta pay that person, and book work and administration work. So you take that out.
Off the 70%,
Out of the 70%, and then they get the.
might be 20%
invest
left.
in tourism for the northern half of Oconto County, more than likely. You know, they get the 30% divided by 5.
But after you pay their wages, there might be 20% or less left, right?
Look, they got to do everything out of the 70%.
Right, that's what I'm
We get
saying.
the 30%.
So if they pay the wages and it's 50% of that budget, then there's 20% of that money available yet.
For them.
Yeah.
Whatever.
For advertising and for tourism.
I think we should ask that Jamie's program.
Yeah.
Jamie Celine.
Yeah, because
We should-
when you go over, read your paper, it was like 37. What the hell good is that for Oconto?
Yeah, but it's 60% and you never drive.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true.
6% of what?
6%.
I'd like to know what this number was.
Oh,
Yeah.
Better than nothing.
That is true.
Yeah, there was, you can have, if you made less than 300,000.
How do you figure 6%?
Because you're split between 5 communities.
Yeah, I'm saying 8.
If they're, if you split it, it'd be 6%.
So you get under 300,000, there's one, then between 300 and a million and something else and a million, and then you have, so there's 2 other people that, citizens that are elected, I believe, also on that commission. From the county, maybe it's from the county that they did, but when I read it, I was like, what the hell is this? I figured, you know, if we were to do the motel tax, we would get it.
Well, that's what I was
City of
hoping for the
Oconto.
city.
Should at least
But
50.
they're gonna make the district,
Right.
get what they're gonna call
Just remember it was 6%.
Well, probably like you said, the Townsend, Hall, Lakewood area up that way.
Want me to reach out to her? Or have Brittany reach out to Jamie and have educate us on that? Write that into our next. We need another meeting on this budget. And you have each person, this is my recommendation, go through here. I mean, the department heads looked at what they need. We have a fiduciary duty to look in the order.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is cutting the services that we have. Your job is.
I was wondering if they could go back and look again at operational supplies.
You can ask them that.
I would love to.
Operational supplies and contractual
I
services,
mean-
that's my favorite 2 words to hear on both of them. Because you had to know what that's
There's
involved in.
just so many papers. Is there a way that we can distribute some of this electronically instead?
That's up to you guys, it goes to you.
It's just so much.
It's really
Mountains, mountains.
for.
I don't know, and that's what I would do.
You guys.
And it's like, just, that's
It's
where
your
I was
first one.
saying, can you go back and look at
It's
your
like
printing?
absorb. Hey, believe it or not, there's gonna be some angry people. I enjoy it. They're always pissed at me anyway, I don't care. I'm not here to be right, I'm here to do what's right for the community.
I'm just,
Yeah, exactly.
well,
When's our next meeting?
Try early next week.
Um,
Sooner the better, because I'm out of state starting
next week is the election, and
yeah,
as much as I'd love to do it next week, Monday, we prepare for that election all day, especially working with all new staff. I mean, I have a lot of training to do for this.
It's supposed to be.
you can't change it.
Yeah, we could do Wednesday at night. There's a 4:30 Harvard meeting though.
Yep. I have 4:30 already. But
I mean, those meetings are usually quick.
we could actually make Harbor meeting, in the conference room down there, and we could have council in here if we
We
wanted.
could,
I don't, the Harbor meeting, I mean, it's getting to the point now where it's just gonna be, John's gonna update us on the docs again. I mean,
yeah, it's almost done.
I could actually excuse myself from that to come here. I'd rather do that. The
Okay.
9th,
Yeah.
well, we can even do what works best for everybody.
In my opinion, they can.
They can get by without,
We
they
can
can get by
reschedule
without.
our, that's.
Yeah, I
that's
know.
the potatoes.
They got plenty of guys here, I ain't worried about that.
What is the earliest time that works for everyone?
I can be here by 3:30, 3 o'clock. I mean,
Good morning. I'll probably be up.
boy, come on, hanging out, hey, come on, hanging out with you.
My stomach.
Whatever you guys want.
3:30?
I'll be there.
3:30 is early as I can make it.
3:30, Wednesday, the 9th.
Perfect. And I'll see if I can get Jeff to come.
At least get to talk to him.
Yeah.
If he can't come, make sure we have some sort of information.
Or if he can zoom in at least or something, yeah, I think he'll come too. He really loves the city.
You wanna let John know I won't be at the Harbor, or should I try to get hold of him?
Time is rescheduled.
Well, 3:30, maybe we'll be done by 4:30.
Good joke.
I'll just let John know,
Yeah.
I'll send him.
Do you have his cell? Yeah, just
Yeah.
send him a text.
Okay.
We need a motion.
Make a motion to
Okay, I have a motion to adjourn, which second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good first budget meeting, guys. For real, that was good.
you want these rolls?
I don't feel good.
No, you can,
You know what, I would be
actually, just leave them
comfortable
on your
if
thing,
you
I'll
did this
recycle, that's not.
Yeah, you know, I just wish we could get that, yeah, that number, if we get that down in the 200s, I think we probably get all that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
if we didn't have that debt payment, we would be sitting very good.
We'd be sitting good.
Yeah.
Well, better.
It's that's including raising the rate, so I mean.
What's that?
That's this year,
Well, that's-
not next year. We have a $500,000 payment this year in 2022 and
Or you can't
23.
borrow the money until next year. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we have to borrow it to pay back the utility this year. We need to pay them back by the end of the year.
Or this year, that's what I'm saying, so why can't we make payments on that instead of the 500,000?
That's the next 500,000. There's 500,000 payments, 2022,
Oh, I was thinking
23.
there was only two,
Nope,
three of them.
I won't take a pay raise.
I didn't know that either. I thought there was two.
You said the third one from.